investigation into a chemical weapons attack in Syria a year ago, which was highly contested. Syria reclaimed the area and there were government denials about it. And we used visual evidence. We collected satellite imagery, videos from the ground to investigate it, analyze the evidence and see what that evidence told us about where it happened, when it happened, how the bomb ended up on the building and the symptoms that the victims showed inside. And we reconstructed it in 3 dimensions and we wanted to put people into that 3-dimensional space to examine, to have a look at it as well.
Now, to put together all the different elements of this piece, you had to glean news media clips, photography, photo images from people on the ground, and then there was an unwitting contributor to your story, correct?
That's right. I mean, after Syria sealed access to the area, only Russian media were allowed in, and the state media presented their version of events. And that provided us with really valuable visual evidence that allowed Karthik and forensic architecture and our team to reconstruct the area and show how it happened.
And what is it about augmented reality that you felt this would be the best format to present this story?
Well, like Maliki was mentioning, the data itself, the analysis itself is inherently 3D, and we wanted to give the opportunity to the reader to see it the way it is, to explore the evidence themselves. So this augmented reality was a perfect opportunity to do that. And we in fact tried virtual reality in augmented reality in this piece, which is another unique thing from this piece.
Right, and the New York Times is poised to really embrace this augmented reality format because you can now incorporate all the different elements. It's not just the written word anymore, and it seems like something y'all have embraced. I was scrolling through the other day and I saw this fascinating piece about David Bowie's these iconic costumes that he had. And so if you all have not logged on to the New York Times and checked out some of these amazing pieces that they're doing in augmented reality, I suggest you do. And it's something that you all are going to keep doing, from here on out, correct?
That's right, and there were 2 teams involved in this, the visual investigations team and the augmented reality team, and both, they're all represented here. On both sides, it's sort of documentary visual evidence and then representing that in a 3D space. And so there's real reporting to be extracted when you combine the 2.
Thank you so much for being with us this evening, and we wish you all the best of luck. Thank you. All right, we're going to welcome in our next guest here who has spent a lot of time on the Texas-Mexico border and is nominated for his work this evening. We are joined by Jose. You can come right over here. You can come over here. We'll get Jose. You'll be right here. Oh, as you can see, the hall is filling up. The show is going to start in probably about 30 minutes, but until then, we're going to you can come right over here, keep talking to our nominees.
Nice to see you.
Mr. Ballard, thank you so much for being with us.
Great to see you.
Congratulations on your nomination.
Thank you very much.
Now, Telemundo really has just gone all out when it comes to this topic that has really captured the attention of the world. The childhood separation. You are nominated for What's Happening to the Children. Tell me a little bit about what went into this piece.
Look, we've been covering this story because it's not a far distant story for us. We represent and speak to the Latino community, 60 million strong in the United States of America, and Noticias Telemundo is really part of the Latino community, and we serve it in a very real and direct way. So this is not a story that we've been covering piecemeal. It's part of our DNA, and I feel very honored that the Academy is recognizing the work of the men and women of Noticias Telemundo who have really been so diligent about covering aspects of America and the United States and the reality of America.
This isn't just something that's happening, in a vacuum at the Texas-Mexico border.
Well, you're a border person, aren't you?
That's right.
We've seen each other in the McAllen area. What a wonderful area. So, by the way, talk about an unreported story. Here's an area that has been seen a boom in technology jobs and all kinds of infrastructure for the technology companies and the tech future. It's in the border area. Why aren't we talking about that? Why haven't we been covering that in other markets? But back to Noticias Telemundo, it's really we feel very honored to be here tonight because we do this on a daily basis, and we've been doing it for the longest time. It's really rewarding to see that Telemundo, the men and women who work and represent the Latino community in Telemundo, are being recognized tonight.
Well, we thank you so much for joining us. We wish you the best of luck.
Let's go back to the McAllen area. I love that area.
I'll tell you what, one thing I think is, and you probably noticed when you were down there, it's not so black and white.
Not at
the
all.
families are very blended. The people go back and forth. I had children at my school whose parents were Mexican nationals who, add their documentation, bring them to school. There's jobs. There's people, the maquila industry. It's very fluid, and that's why we have continued to thrive.
I was, Noticias Telemundo was at El Paso for the horrendous massacre there. The families, it's not one city. There are two cities. It's almost as though it's two cities, part of one area, separated by the border. But the stories that are happening here have a direct impact on there, and vice versa. We really are much bigger than I think a lot of us give us credit for.
Well, you guys have aced covering this story, and we wish you the best of luck tonight.
Thrilled to be here. Thank you.
you.
Nice to see you.
Appreciate it. We'll have you head that way. And let's take a look over here while we gather our next guest. We've got the hall filling up, and people are starting to file into the theater. We're joined by the folks from the Rest in Power, the Trayvon Martin story. Let me have you guys, we'll kind of all bunch up here. We'll get close,
You want me on that side?
Yeah, no, you can be right here.
Okay.
All right. Thank you so much. Sabrina Fulton, Tracy Martin, Trayvon's parents, thank you so much for joining us. We'll speak with you first, and then we'll bring Mike in to talk a little bit about the piece in a minute. As I can imagine, being here tonight is bittersweet. You've experienced something that no parent should have to endure, but you are here to celebrate this amazing piece of television that is, it was unbelievable to watch. What does it mean for you to be here tonight?
It just means that this is a very special moment for us. We are happy to be here. We're happy just to be nominated. So I hope we do win, so we can take it back to the people and let them know that, by them viewing it and that by them supporting us and standing up, that it meant a lot to us and it means a lot to the country. And so even though it happened to Trayvon Martin represents a lot of our children.
And just on behalf of the Academy and me personally, I would like to extend my condolences to you two. You two wrote a book together about this experience, and part of this documentary is based on some of what you all had in the book. Tell me what your experience was like being a part of this.
I think being a part of this, it just showed who we were, who we are as parents, who we are as people, who we are as a mother, as a father, and at the end of the day, we want this work to go. We glad that this work is going unnoticed. We're just happy to be here, happy to be nominated. We hope that we win, and our fight continues.
Thank you so much for being here tonight. We wish you all the best of the luck, and again, our sympathies for the loss of your son. Thank you. We're going to bring the directors over here. Executive producer Mike Gasparo. I saw someone else was out there. Where'd he go?
Chachi, who is our exec at Paramount when we were doing
maybe we can wave Chachi back in here.
I think the directors are coming up too, so maybe we can let them in here.
In the meantime, let's talk a little bit about just the impact that this documentary has had. Speaking as a viewer, I know of like the rest of the country, we watched this story, human tragedy, play out. It kind of trickled out in bits as more things came to light. There was the 911 calls, the police chiefs, press conferences, little things we would get kind of in a long, drawn-out, more diluted fashion. This documentary was really like everything. Here you go. You can come on. It was everything all at once. A concentrated. Hi, hello. I said, hey, we're live on the internet, so we can do this kind of thing.
Sure.
It's
Julia and Jenna are the
Julia, let's
directors.
put together like prom here, so we can.
Sounds good.
Hey, you can stay in. You can stay in.
Great.
But I was telling him how, just as a viewer, having experienced this story, this American story, kind of as things were trickling out, in real time, but then seeing it in a documentary in this concentrated, everything strung together. I mean, you guys did an amazing, fascinating, pulling from every little thing from a jailhouse interview to, you know, people on the street, and what went into this?
So, I mean, all of our productions involve a lot of editing, and I think for Julia and I as directors, you know, so much happens over the internet, happens over the news, and, you know, as filmmakers, we wanted to go through all of that and present it back to audiences years later. So often in the 24-hour news cycle, people lose track of the context. And when we see it play back years later, it's a lot more important than we thought it was. And things are said in ways that we can see that we didn't see then.
Important and impactful. And let me get your name so that we all get your credit for this wonderful nomination.
I'm Jenner First. I'm the executive producer and the co-director of Rest in Power.
Hi, I'm Julia Willoughby Nason. I'm the director and EP.
Thank you so much. Well, we appreciate you all coming out, and we are just so happy you're here, and we wish you the best of luck tonight.
Thank you so much.
We're going to see you again after we win, right?
We shall see. We're going to be interviewing some of the winners as they come out tonight. We have maybe one or two more people we can speak with before, but let's come back and take a look at the hall, and we'll round someone up. Here we go. We have our next crew here from the HBO documentary I Am Evidence. Come on, ladies. Hi, how are you?
Hi,
Thank you so much. Yes, Mariska Hargitay. You all come on. We'll squeeze together.
And our co-directors.
Thank you. Tell me your name.
Gita Gamber. Trish Lessig.
I'm going to have you squeeze this.
Yes.
You come with me. You guys are beautiful tonight. Here's our camera right here. We would like to congratulate you, first of all, on this amazing documentary. HBO just put everything into it, and you ladies put your hearts and soul into this documentary. Tell me a little bit about the nominated piece.
Well, in 2009, I learned about the backlog of untested rape kits and was just absolutely outraged and thought it was sort of a perfect microcosm of how we treat women in this country, and educated myself about it and decided that I have found documentaries to be one of the most best ways of learning and also educating the masses. And so I went to my badass filmmakers and said, help me make this movie. And I got these great women to direct this film, and Trish and I also produced it together. And for me, you know, I've said so often that the backlog of untested rape kits sends a message to survivors that they just don't matter. And what happens to them doesn't matter. And so we made this film to say, your voices matter, and you matter, and we are going to change this, and we are going to fix this, and we are going to bring things into balance.
And I can imagine along the way you may have had a little bit of pushback from some of the entities you were seeking information from, correct? Probably wasn't just you just walked in there and they handed everything over, correct?
Yes, there were people that we went to that were working on the issue in Cleveland and Detroit. We have a fantastic prosecutor here, Kim Worthy. If you come in, I want to introduce you to Kim Worthy, one of the subjects in the film. She was extraordinary in her commitment. She wasn't getting support from her county executive, and she teamed up with Mariska and Joyful Heart, and we made the film, and we followed Kim's journey.
I saw that Kim was doing the, miracle work and God's work, and so we said, lead the way, and we will follow you. And she was doing what nobody else was doing with absolutely no team, and it's been such an honor and a pleasure to shed light on something that is traditionally swept under the carpet. Nobody wanted to talk about the backlog. Nobody wanted to test the kits. Nobody wanted to go there. They said, that's icky, that's scary. Oh, just go away. It's probably not true what she's saying. And so this idea of not believing women and treating them like, literally discarding them. Here were these tests sitting on a shelf, letting their lives sit on a shelf, disregarded. And so...
Have you heard from people who have seen this documentary and been moved, maybe were victims themselves?
So many.
Many film festival screenings, many people were very moved. Many people approached us all and said, I feel validated, I feel finally heard. When we started the process of making the film, they said, we didn't think we were important enough for someone to want to make a film about us. So for them, this was the first step in healing because they felt re-victimized by the very entity that was set up to help them. Our taxpayer dollars pay for these jurisdictions and police support. So they felt really validated and excited to be a part of telling the great Kid Backlund story through their own personal journeys.
We wish you all the best of luck tonight. Thank you so much for joining us up here tonight. It was an important work and you shed a light on such an important topic. Thank you so much. We'll
Very proud to be here.
Go enjoy yourself at the party. You can hear it's happening down there. I know it is loud, but we've got good microphones. Thank you so much. Well, I think that might wrap it up if I can find Terry O'Reilly. Our chairman might be up here hanging around in the balcony. We wanted to talk to him a little bit about the Academy before we wrap up. But if we can't find him, we are just so excited to be here. We are getting ready to start. The show is going to start any minute now. Oh, I'm being told to wrap. With that ends our pre-show. The 40th Annual News and Documentary Emmy Awards begins right now.
Jeez, you gotta be kidding me. With all the attention here on the swamp creatures in the Capitol, nobody's paying attention to the zombies, former lawmakers.
I saw an entire home taken off of its foundation and rolled down the street.
And you can see where the bridge just sheared off, debris hanging from the side there.
But one mop-haired young Dutchman has come up with a plan which he says will save our seeds.
No, I was told host. Yeah. Sorry. But I may be in the wrong event, actually.
Please welcome our first presenter, anchor of ABC News World News Tonight Weekend and ABC News Chief National Affairs Correspondent Tom Yamas.
Good evening, and welcome to the News and Documentary Emmy Awards. Tonight we recognize impactful journalism from all parts of the globe, all across the United States, from the White House to the border. Major interviews, major moments, and major natural disasters. We also recognize someone tonight with a Lifetime Achievement Award, someone I'd like to call a Jedi, because people like this in our industries, they truly have the Force. This person not only can see things before they happen, this person not only is fearless, but this person also is training the next generation of Jedis. Let's please welcome Andrea Mitchell. A standing ovation, and we are just getting started. We also have a special guest here up in the balcony, an international delegation. The President of Ukraine is here tonight with us. The only ground rules were no questions, so hopefully we can get through that. But let's start the show. Our first nominees are for Outstanding Investigative Report in a News Magazine. Here are the nominees.
Flying Under the Radar, 60 Minutes, CBS. Inside the Secret Archive, 60 Minutes, CBS. Case Cleared, How Rape Goes Unpunished in America, Newsy. Adoption Incorporated, Fault Lines, Al Jazeera International USA. Shots Fired, The Jordan Edwards Story, Real Sports with Bryant Gumbel, HBO.
All right. And the Emmy goes to Adoption Incorporated, Fault Lines, Al Jazeera International.
Accepting the Emmy, Anna Cabell, reporter.
Hello.
Good morning, David Slansky.
Yes.
I wanted to talk to you about some families in Uganda who say their children were adopted against their wishes.
I'd rather not.
Do you want to tell me about Kasiri Solomon, who's currently living in a government institution because his mother in Uganda doesn't want him to be adopted?
Well, apparently she's given conflicting stories. I think you should talk to the family who wants to adopt her.
I was given a very important piece of advice when I started in journalism, and that was to always work with people who are better than you. And this incredible team I came to with a story several years ago, and they helped me to turn it into the film that Adoption Inc. became. So I'm very grateful to them, and I'm very grateful to the Emmy judges for, I hope, raising awareness for what's actually a very important issue. And also to Al Jazeera, because I don't know of any other international broadcaster that gives such airtime to the voices of people in the developing world. Thank you.
Okay, our next category. The nominees for Outstanding Nature Documentary are
Trophy, CNN Films. Wildland, Independent Lens, PBS. Into the Okavango, National Geographic. Sex, Lies, and Butterflies, Nature, PBS. Supercats, Cats in Every Corner, Nature, PBS.
And the Emmy goes to Trophy, CNN Films.
Accepting the Emmy, Christina Claugeot, co-director.
Smile. First trophy back. Like this. Too tired? One more smile. We're done. Okay. As they say, that's history. No more dough and spike culling for you. You're on to the big trophies.
Wow, this is such an honor to be recognized for this film. We just want to say a quick thank you to all those that have supported, as it takes courage, as it's such a divisive topic. Our characters, John, Chris, and Philip, thank you for trusting us with their stories. CNN, The Orchard, Impact Partners, Chicago Media Project, Candescent Films, Yes Docu, BBB Storyville, Pulse Films, UTA, thank you for the continued support. And to our editors and producers, Lauren and Julia, who's here tonight, thank you guys. It's really a huge deal that you've made this film come to life. And to Shaul, my directing partner, it's been such an honor to create with you. Thank you.
Next up, the nominees for Outstanding Politics and Government Documentary are
Armed with Faith, Doc World, World Channel. Separated, Children at the Border, Frontline, PBS. The Judge, Independent Lens, PBS. No Greater Law, A&E. Reversing Roe, Netflix.
And the Emmy goes to Armed with Faith, Doc World, World Channel.
Accepting the Emmy, Assad Farouqi, director and producer.
मैटर बहुत हल्का होता है और उसके लिए ये बाजुआ भी बहुत इनमें तंग है। तो मैं अपने वतन के लिए खुशी से अपने बदन का हर टुकड़ा कटवा सकता हूँ।
Hello, everyone. I would like to thank Geeta Ganbir, my co-director, Amy Shasky, Chris Hastings, are from World Channel, Perry Peltz, and Sharmeen Obed Chanoy, my executive producers on the film, Claire Wentz and Haya Fatma Iqbal, co-producers, and Flavia D'Souza, the editor of the film, Zahra Naqvi and Aruj Aftab, and Daniel Miller. This film, I started making this film, I wanted to basically tell the story of Pakistanis as what was going on because of a war on terror. I would watch all these films about US Marines and everyone in Afghanistan, and would always feel like I am on the other side of the lens and not represented. And that was the reason why I went out and ventured and wanted to tell a story of this incredible bomb disposal squad whose determination to save humanity was just very inspiring, and it was a story that I felt had to be shared. And I would really thankful of ITVS and PBS for supporting this film and getting it out to the world. And this is great. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you. Okay, the nominees for Outstanding Editing in News are
Ambush at Copper Canyon, Nightline, ABC. Operation Ceasefire, Retro Report, and The New Yorker. Your train is delayed. Why? The New York Times. Walking to America, Vice News Tonight, HBO. Zero Tolerance, Vice News Tonight, HBO.
And the Emmy goes to Your Train is Delayed. Why? The New York Times.
Accepting the award, Aura de Cornfield, producer, editor.
These were the trains in the 1970s.
Poor maintenance, high crime, and widespread graffiti.
It was kind of scary.
And that's Jim. He's been reporting on the subway since before I was born.
He wrote the book about the subway, literally.
All right, congrats to the New York Times. I think they missed their train. All right, here we go.
Oh my God. What? They're not letting him.
Okay, here they come, sorry.
Hi. I want to say thank you so much to everyone at the New York Times, Nancy Goss, Liz Balin, for being huge supporters. Everyone on the stage, the reporting team, the graphics team, everyone was, made this what it was. Liz Deegan is my co-editor, so super grateful to her. And most of all, we're grateful to the MTA for getting us where we need to go eventually. Thank you so much.
All right. Okay, next up, the nominees for Outstanding Graphic Design and Art Direction are
The Amazing Human Body, PBS. Destroyed, CNN Digital. Inside North Korea's Dynasty, National Geographic. Neanderthal, PBS. The Trouble with Tesla, Vice News Tonight, HBO. Anyone can create a new emoji. Here's an animated guide to doing it right. The Washington Post.
All right, and the winner is Inside North Korea's Dynasty, National Geographic.
Accepting the Emmy, Miles Donovan, Creative Director.
Kim Jong-il got all the latest movies illegally copied by diplomats in North Korean embassies around the world. He would have them sent back to him in Pyongyang. He built up an enormous library of movies, and he watched all of them.
This is incredible. Thank you very much. We'd like to thank the Academy, National Geographic, and 72 Films for trusting us and just allowing us to get on what we do best. Yeah, this is a great honour. And I'd like to thank everyone at Peep Show Studios in London, including Luke Best, who can't be here this evening, and he helped me art direct this. So, yeah, thank you very much.
All right, the nominees for Outstanding Feature Story in a News Magazine are
Becoming Michelle, A First Lady's Journey with Robin Roberts, 2020, ABC. The Greek Freak, 60 Minutes, CBS. The Legacy of Lynching, 60 Minutes, CBS. The Photo Arc, 60 Minutes, CBS. Tim Green, 60 Minutes, CBS.
All right, so 60 Minutes won. The story that won, The Legacy of Lynching.
Accepting the Emmy, Denise Schreier-Chetta, producer.
Whoa, this is something.
There are 805 steel markers, one for each county where lynchings took place, all across this country. So far, the Memorial's research team has evidence of more than 4,300 lynchings beginning after the Civil War.
At 60 Minutes, we hope this story would contribute to the difficult conversation our country is having about our racial past. Thank you to Brian Stevenson and the Equal Justice Initiative for their commitment to pushing the conversation into uncomfortable but important territory. Associate producer Megan Kelty and great editor Terry Manning and I would like to recognize the team not here, Oprah Winfrey, and cameramen Keith Walker, Chris Albert, Lee Hubner, Dan Bussell, and Ron Dean, and for their unparalleled editorial guidance, Bill Owens and Jeff Fager.
Okay, next up, the nominees for Outstanding Edited Interview are
Miracle Boys, 2020, ABC. Stormy Daniels, 60 Minutes, CBS. James Comey, The Interview, ABC News. Bringing Down Bill Cosby, Andrea Constand Speaks, Dateline NBC. These girls escaped Boko Haram. Now they're pleading for help to save their generation. PBS NewsHour.
All right, this is a biggie. Bringing Down Bill Cosby, Andrea Constand Speaks, Dateline NBC.
Accepting the Emmy, Kate Snow.
Andrea, you are now going to be known as the woman who took down Bill Cosby. How do you feel about that?
I never set out to bring down anybody, and I haven't necessarily because I'm not alone.
Congratulations, David. So great to see you too.
Wow. Oh my God. We didn't expect this. We were in such good company tonight. I really want to emphasize that. We were in such good company. It makes me proud to be a journalist right now. I sent a text to Andrea earlier, and I told her she would be my first text, and I haven't had a chance yet to text her. She is such a brave woman. She spoke only one time on television, and as a survivor, that interview, as you can imagine, was not easy for her. Andrea was a reluctant hero in this whole story of Bill Cosby, and you heard her just now. She said, "I didn't set out to take anyone down. We did that." She said, "This is a collective consciousness. We brought Bill Cosby down. I just wore the shoes." I want to thank Dolores Troiani, her attorney, Andrea's attorney, and all of the many Cosby accusers that we have talked to over the years. This was a movement before there was a hashtag. And I want to thank Marianne Haggerty, where are you? For spending every single day an hour at not one but two trials of Bill Cosby. David Corvo, Liz Cole, Adam Gorfain, Ellen Mason for supporting our reporting. I don't have time to name absolutely everyone, but Rob Buchanan, Marianne O'Donnell, Sue Simpson, the rest of our production team that turned this interview around in record time and made it look absolutely beautiful, and it was a compelling hour. And most of all, thank you, Andrea. I know you're out there. Thank you for sharing your story.
All right, the nominees for Outstanding News Special are
39 Days, 48 Hours, and CBS This Morning. 40 Years, CBS Sunday Morning. Mind Matters, CBS Sunday Morning. CNN Heroes, an all-star tribute. Parkland Town Hall, CNN. 2018 Midterms, The Activist Election, Vice News Tonight, HBO.
All right, and the Emmy goes to 39 Days, 48 Hours, and CBS This Morning.
Accepting the Emmy, Judy Tygard, executive producer, 48 Hours.
We have been talking about this for the past 3 days nonstop, and they haven't done a single damn thing. They've tweeted about it. President Trump was here for 20 minutes.
Your gun laws need to be changed, Mr. President.
But the people who actually have the opportunity to make the change are doing, excuse my language, jack.
We are just so proud to accept this honor. We want to congratulate our people that may be in the bar mitzvah overflow room that didn't make it to the stage. This was a huge collaboration. There are 122 people that contributed to this new special. And it was a beautiful collaboration, the first of many, between 48 Hours and CBS This Morning. And we want to dedicate this honor to the student activists who are fighting every day for change. So thank you so much. And Rand, our friends at Sunday Morning, it's an honor to be nominated. Take care.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the President and CEO of the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences, Adam Sharp.
Good evening. On behalf of the 18,000 members of the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences, welcome to the 40th Annual News and Documentary Emmy Awards. For 70 years, the Emmys have recognized true excellence in all forms of television production and broadcasting. And for the last 4 decades of that, this ceremony has focused on excellence in using this medium to pursue the truth. It's not always easy to find. Truth can be elusive. It can require great cost, risk, and sacrifice to uncover. Each of the nominees we recognize tonight have faced that challenge head on. They're journalists and documentarians. They've told the stories that need to be told, and they'll keep doing so long after tonight's celebrations. In fact, looking out at a few phones and hands, I think they're doing so right now during the celebrations on this slow news night. We honor this never-ending mission by especially recognizing a lifetime of dogged reporting by Andrea Mitchell, my former NBC News colleague, and by saluting the next generation of excellence with the Mike Wallace Scholarship. As an Academy Scholarship winner myself 23 years ago, I know very well the impact that such industry support can have on a budding career. We're grateful to Susan Zirinsky and CBS News for their continued generosity in backing this important program. And we're grateful for all of you. In a world of infinite sources of information, good and bad, it's more important than ever to shine a light on what true excellence looks like and to celebrate those who work every day so tirelessly to achieve it. So thank you for all that you do and for joining us tonight. Now it is my pleasure to introduce our next presenter, the co-host of CBS This Morning, Anthony Mason.
Evening, everybody. It's somewhat alarming for me to say I'm about to enter my 40th year in journalism. Yeah, I know, it hurts. And as we all know, I think this profession is more challenging than it's ever been. And as Adam alluded to, on a slow news day like this, you get the indication it's only just starting to get interesting. But if a 16-year-old young woman can find the courage to confront the most powerful people in the world, I trust that we can too. Quality journalism has always mattered, never more so than now. And this night is all about that. The nominees for outstanding continuing coverage of a news story in a news magazine are
High Velocity, 60 Minutes, CBS. Inside the Epidemic, 60 Minutes, CBS. War Crime, 60 Minutes, CBS. Between War and the Ban, Fault Lines, Al Jazeera International USA. Putin's Russia, MSNBC's On Assignment with Richard Engel.
And the Emmy goes to War Crime, 60 Minutes, CBS.
Accepting the Emmy, Nicole Young, producer.
So many victims fell at once. First responders used fire hoses to wash them. There was a chance, a small one, that stripping contaminated clothes and dousing the skin might save a life. These are the people of a small farming town called Khan Shehoun. They fell after a warplane dropped a bomb nearby.
Hi, this is very exciting. I first want to say on behalf of Scott Pelley, who's not here tonight, because he said in the unlikely event that we will win, that he had a prior engagement and couldn't be here. So I'm really happy to tell him that we just won for this award after we get off stage. First, I want to thank these two ladies behind me. This story and our past stories wouldn't even be possible without these two. They're dogged, they're diligent, they're tireless, they're women, they're great. And it's Katie and Celine. I also want to thank our amazing editor who's not here tonight, Jorge. He has edited quite a few of our serious stories. It's painful to watch. It's harder for the editor who has to sit through hours and hours and hours of footage and turn it into something great and listen to us producers as we force them to do something that they think that we know how to do better and they know better than we do. So to Jorge and to Scott Pelley. He is a master with the pen. His words are poetry, and it was the words that he wrote on paper that made this story exactly what was able to be on air and give all of the victims of this chemical attack the justice that they needed. So thank you, 60 Minutes. Thank you, Bill Owens. Thank you, Jeff Fager. Thank you, Z, for being the heartbeat at CBS. And thank you all for this award.
The nominees for Outstanding Video Journalism News are
Fly Like an Eagle, 60 Minutes, CBS. City of Angels, Dateline NBC. Gaza, A Day of Reckoning, Vice News Tonight, HBO. The Killing Rooms of Mosul, Vice News Tonight, HBO. Walking to America, Vice News Tonight, HBO.
And the Emmy goes to The Killing Rooms of Mosul, Vice News Tonight, HBO.
Accepting the Emmy, Adam Desiderio, producer and director of photography.
For the people who actually live in Mosul, there's only one urgent goal right now: making the city livable again. Even if it means forgetting the worst of what happened here.
أكيد إحنا نريد الناس ترجع تعمر بيوتها تبني. ماكو أحد يعني يرجع يعمر بيته وهو بجثة. أكو البعض منهم يخافون لا.
Thank you so much. I'm totally. This is an amazing honor, so I really thank you so much for this. I do want to thank Singly Agnew, who's my fellow shooter and producer on this. We couldn't have done this without her, and also to Seb Walker, our correspondent, for his dogged reporting. He was amazing in the field. I also want to thank Ayar Rasool, who was responsible for a lot of the aerial photography that was in our story. He was unable to be here tonight, so I want to thank him as well. Obviously, to our executive producer, Madeline Herringer, Josh Tarangio, and also to our senior producer, Craig Thompson, as well. And just finally, I'd like to thank Shane Smith, Nancy Dubach, and Jesse Angelo, just for their support, their leadership advice, and also for just allowing us to travel the world and tell these important stories. So thank you very much.
The nominees for Outstanding Writing are
War Crime, 60 Minutes, CBS. At Risk, CBS Sunday Morning. Documenting Hate, Frontline, PBS. Hope and Fury, MLK, The Movement and the Media, NBC. Operation Infection, Russian Disinformation from Cold War to Kanye, The New York Times Opinion. Black Hole Apocalypse, Nova, PBS.
The Emmy goes to War Crime, 60 Minutes, CBS.
Accepting the Emmy, Nicole Young, director and producer.
One question not answered by the UN investigation was why? Why resort to a war crime? To find out, we traveled into the province where Khan Sheikhoun is located, Idlib province, largely controlled by an Islamic extremist group, Hayat Tahrir al-Sham.
We were just creeping in the back, just hanging out. Again, we're so grateful for this award, particularly this one, because this is the one that Scott is most proud of. Like I had said before, he's a poet. He's a master of his craft. He's a wordsman, and every time Katie and I embark on a story, we have the honor of watching him do what he does and making everything that we do 10 times better. So anytime we think we've handed him something good, he makes it great. And that's what makes this job and everything we do great. So thank you for this award.
And now the nominees for Outstanding Promotional Announcement.
The History of Comedy Season 2 campaign, CNN original series. Operation Toussaint promo trailer, DNA Films. Starstruck, National Geographic. U.S. Secret Service, On the Front Line, National Geographic.
And the Emmy goes to the History of Comedy Season 2 campaign, CNN original series, CNN.
Accepting the Emmy, Rick Luchuk, Senior Vice President, Creative Services.
Well, we figured if we did something that looked like it belonged on PBS, we may have a shot, so that worked out well. This is the work of our talented producer, Nicole Giles, with her production partner, Roger, and of course, our partner in this, Sean Hayes. On behalf of WIT and I and the entire CNN creative marketing team, thank you to the Academy for this honor. Thank you to Amy and Telus for continuing to give us great programming to promote. And thank you to our leaders, Allison Gollust and Jeff Zucker, for the encouragement and support to promote CNN in expected and unusual ways. Thank you.
And now the nominees for Outstanding Arts, Culture, or Entertainment Report.
Into the Wild, 60 Minutes, CBS. Art and Soul, Great Big Story. Deadly Haze, Inside the Fraternity Crisis. CNN Special Report. Teen Boss, Follow This by BuzzFeed News. Netflix. Today Digital, A New Dawn, One Father's Love Helps Family Thrive After Son's Near-Death Experience. NBC News Digital. YouTube's Hidden Camera Problem, Vice News Tonight, HBO.
And the Emmy goes to Art and Soul, Great Big Story.
Accepting the Emmy, Noah Throop, producer.
I remember my first experience of seeing this amazing production of art that was different than what I had seen, and it was such a personal expression by the person making it. They may or may not have had language, they may or may not have been able to communicate with me, but they're making this work that's really, you know, a window into their soul.
Thank you, first and foremost, to Creative Growth Arts Center in Oakland, California, to Tom DiMaria and the entire group of extraordinary artists who work there. Without them, this would not have been possible. To the leadership team at Great Big Story, to Courtney Coop, who couldn't be here tonight, Sadie Bass, Sam Stamler, to my dear friend and colleague, Mark Boyer, who shot and produced this with me, and to the entire Great Big Story team. We're all invested in the stories we tell, and this is a win for all of us. Thank you.
The nominees for outstanding coverage of a breaking news story in a newscast are
Crisis at the Border, World News Tonight with David Muir and Nightline, ABC. CNN New York bomb evacuation, CNN Newsroom. State of emergency, Hurricane Florence, NBC Nightly News. Israel and Palestine, a deeper divide, Vice News Tonight, HBO. Moment of truth, Kavanaugh and Ford, Vice News Tonight, HBO.
And the Emmy goes to Moment of Truth, Kavanaugh and Ford, Vice News Tonight, HBO.
Accepting the Emmy, Shauna Thomas.
I didn't know I was raped at the time. It was years later that I realized what had happened to me, that it was that I was raped.
Allegations with no corroborating evidence can bring somebody down and destroy their lives.
Kavanaugh went to a prep school and nobody ever said nasty things about it. It's a whole new experience for him.
Thank you. I wasn't expecting this. We fanned out across multiple states to do this, but my thank yous are to Shane Smith, Nancy Dubuque, Jesse Angelo. Thank you so much. For HBO, Richard Plepler and JP Olson. There was a huge team of editors, producers who turned around a mini doc in 8 hours that basically a day before we were like, we're not gonna do a mini doc, and then Josh Tarangle was like, we're totally gonna do a mini doc. Let's get this done. My amazing team in DC who made this happen, who has done more work than you can imagine for this television show. And a special shout out to Madeline Herringer, who is an amazing executive producer, as well as Josh Tarangle, who pushed us further than you could possibly imagine in these last 3 years, and whose name I probably mispronounced because it might be Tarangle, Tarangel. No one actually knows how it's pronounced. And once again, thank you to all of you, especially our editors who made everything look fantastic. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences now presents its Lifetime Achievement Award to Andrea Mitchell. Please welcome Kristen Welker, NBC News White House correspondent.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. It is such an incredible honor to be here with all of you tonight to celebrate my friend and my mentor, Andrea Mitchell. I like to think that I graduated from one of the finest journalism schools in the entire country, one that no degree you can mount on a wall can even compare to. One that I, along with an entire generation of female journalists, have graduated from with honors. And that list includes the executive producer of NBC Nightly News, Jen Suazo, who is here with us tonight. The first female executive producer of Today, Libby Least, who is also here with us tonight. And my friend and pal in DC, Michelle Perry, who is, of course, the executive producer of Andrea Mitchell Reports. She is with Andrea every day in the trenches, and countless others, so many who are here with us tonight. This is a school that, instead of sending alumni membership dues in the mail, sends cards for every single birthday and holiday, and never misses an important event of a colleague or a friend. And that is the school of Andrea Mitchell. It is with great honor and so much joy and my whole heart that I present Andrea with tonight's Lifetime Achievement Award for her 50-year career as a trailblazer for women and as a fixture on the international stage of journalism. At every rope line, every press conference, every gaggle that has defined history over the past 5 decades. She has covered 7, that's right, 7 presidential administrations. Imagine covering just one. Andrea's covered 7. She's gone toe-to-toe with dictators. She's scooped her competitors, many who are in this room tonight, and I'm sure has had more scoops than you care to recount. Now, I have to make note of the fact that I'm standing in for my dear friend and colleague and a fantastic journalist in her own right, Savannah Guthrie, who really wishes she could be here with all of you tonight. She, as you know, has unfortunately been under the weather, but she wanted me to send along a few thoughts on her behalf. Savannah said, "When I thought about whether it was a good idea to stay up late with pneumonia to give a speech, I thought, would Andrea let a little wimpy illness like pneumonia stop her from anything? Andrea has reported on broken ankles, legs, wrists, fingers, and if you want to know what tough really is, she valiantly returned to work just days after breast cancer surgery. That is a true story." Savannah continues to say, Andrea is not like the rest of us. Andrea is a woman for whom the universe's most powerful forces, sickness, time, space, gravity, bend and obey. Andrea is her own celestial force. And Savannah is absolutely right about all of that, Andrea. Andrea is as tough as nails. She is known for asking not only the right questions, but the best questions every single time, and the toughest questions as well. Her mother used to tell her she thought it was impolite to shout questions at President Reagan as he departed on the White House South Lawn, but the reality is nothing has ever stopped Andrea. Not President Reagan's chief of staff, who said to her once he would get her fired for asking tough questions about the Iran-Contra affair. Not even Philadelphia's Mayor Frank Rizzo, who called the chairman of the board of the radio station where Andrea worked and asked, "Who is this little girl reporter who keeps asking me all of these difficult questions?" Or that time the Sudanese government didn't know what had hit them when the force of nature that is Andrea Mitchell came knocking on their door. And then there's that unforgettable moment that so many of you have seen that unfolded right here in the US. That is where it took practically a football team of White House aides to get in between our dogged chief foreign affairs correspondent and the Secretary of State. Andrea is simply unstoppable. She's relentless. She's the one to beat every single time, a shining example of journalism at its very best. And she's not just a dear friend to so many, but a hands-on mentor, and that's something that I've gotten to experience firsthand. When I first moved to Washington, D.C. in the summer of 2011, and I was terrified, Andrea wasted no time asking me how she could help me, what she could do. So what we did, we had many phone calls. We talked about how I should approach a story, how I could get more information from a source, how I could dig just a little bit deeper, how I could take my reporting just a little bit further. And that's not just unique to me. That is an experience that so many journalists have experienced with Andrea. I call Andrea my DC mom. She and her husband, Alan, have become like family. And I know so many others both see them in the same exact light. When asked recently about the inspiration for her tenacity, Andrea said, "I had a very strong mother, an older sister and father who kept telling his daughters we could do anything we wanted to, and encouraged us in every single venture." Well, Andrea, your father was right. You have reached for the stars, you have touched them, and you keep soaring. And the same is for our countless journalists at NBC News and beyond who you've inspired. You've encouraged us and inspired us more than words can capture, Andrea. And I know the best is still yet to come. So please turn to the screen for this video from your friends at NBC News.
It's just so important to be reporting and digging and trying to find out what is true.
7 other plants designed by the company that built the 3 Mile Island plant could have some of the same problems.
I love trying to peel back the layers of what we know, what we don't know.
That's not what you said Sunday night, sir.
Yes, it is. She is dogged and tenacious. She never gives up.
Israeli soldiers are coming now to chase the kids who've been throwing stones. Excuse me, can we ask you what's going on now?
If it's going to be gotten, Andrea can get it.
Does this White House have some of the responsibility for the gridlock in this town?
Andrea stands up for this business. She stands up for what we do.
Take a look at the email trails and you will see.
I cover the State Department. That is just factually not correct.
I represent a lot of people out there who don't have the privilege of walking through the gates of the White House. If I'm going to stand in for the American people, then I have the right to know.
Here's Andrea Mitchell.
Andrea Mitchell, correspondent Andrea Mitchell.
She really broke the path wide open for women in our industry.
Andrea Mitchell, NBC News, the Capitol, at the White House, at the State Department.
She puts people through tests. At least I felt that way. She really knew what she was talking about, always does.
Isn't this again an instance of NATO threatening to take action but appearing weaker?
A career that spans so many administrations, so many years.
May I disagree with the premise of your question?
For the sake of argument, no. NBC News has learned Clarence Thomas, Anita Hill, and the Senate will all be on trial.
There's a fundamental decency in her approach to journalism, which doesn't let you off the hook.
Mr. Secretary, can we just, a couple of questions about your agenda?
We have some breaking news. The White House has announced on Twitter, Vladimir Putin is coming to the White House in the fall.
Say that again?
After 20 years of war and chaos,
she was just fierce in getting to the places.
8 years after the Tiananmen massacre, the question is, will the UN be able to maintain the security? We go to his offices, then he takes us for a ride in his bulletproof Mercedes. You're not just soldiers, you're social workers. You're doing everything.
Roger that, ma'am.
Watching her in the field is especially rewarding exercise. Her ability to get people to talk.
Do you believe the government?
No, we don't believe the government.
What good are their promises?
I'll never forget her in Sudan.
Don't let cameras.
If you slam a door in my face, there's something in me. This bell rings.
Why the violence is continuing, Mr. President?
They grab me from behind and drag me out.
Don't ever touch our journalists again.
And thinking to myself, Andrea Mitchell is taking on these big burly guys with sunglasses.
Andrea is the reason the word indefatigable was invented.
I love you, Andrea. You are indefatigable. You're my kind of woman.
What about the Russia investigation? Can you assure us that Russia will...
She seemed like such a nice, warm, easy person to get along with, so it's going to be great working with Andrea.
All of a sudden, the same person, Andrea, starts asking you really hard questions, and you think, okay, what just happened here?
I couldn't believe it. This nice lady who I thought was going to be my friend is attacking me. I said, it's going to be like this for the rest of our career together, and she said, probably.
She is charming, and she is respectful, and one of the nicest people you ever meet, but she is going to get that story.
I am somewhere on the floor of this convention.
I think she's one of the best in the business. And Andrea, congratulations on your service to media and service to America.
Thank you so much for what you have contributed to America's democracy.
Congratulations, Andrea. Well deserved.
Thank you, Andrea, for a lifetime of dedication to getting the facts and getting the story right. And thank you for being such a great friend.
So proud of you, girl. Congratulations.
I'm so proud of you. You amaze me every single day.
You have been such an important contributor to what we do and a protector of our values and our mission. So thank you and congratulations, my friend.
Please join me in congratulating our friend, our colleague, our hero, and champion, Andrea Mitchell.
Kristen Welker, I can't tell you how you've touched my heart. Just watching you every day is the greatest joy that I have, watching a colleague of such strength and integrity and brilliance and kindness. Thanks to you, to all of you. Thanks to the incredible people at NBC who put that together. That was a great tour of my hair colors. This is overwhelming in so many ways. To Kristen, whose friendship and incredible strength makes me so proud. Kristen, you've broken the mold, proving that being kind, generous, and smart is no obstacle to huge success in a highly competitive profession. This tribute is obviously overwhelming and humbling. I feel incredibly honored, grateful to all of you at the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences. It's great to come here and know that you're actually going to get one of these instead of sitting and waiting and praying. But as we all know, none of us achieves anything in this business on our own. Television news is, as I like to say, a team sport. And I indeed owe everything that's happened to me to my mentors at NBC and MSNBC, to Andy Lack, to Noah Oppenheim, to Phil Griffin. Phil Griffin, I remembered tonight, who sent a bottle of champagne, along with Tom Brokaw, to my hotel back in 1996 when I actually completed the New York Marathon, which I never thought I could. And Phil has always been such a kind and great supporter. To the anchors with whom I've worked and from whom I've learned, my colleagues over the years, David Brinkley, Tom Brokaw, Brian Williams, Lester Holt, to Chuck Todd, and of course, the heart and soul of our Washington bureau, Tim Russert. I think I learned more from Tim. Every morning, I'd come into the newsroom, we'd both be doing the Today Show, and he'd say, "So what do you know, Mitch? What's new today, Mitch?" He's the only person who ever called me that other than my dad. But in particular tonight, especially tonight, I want to speak about the women who have taught me so much, especially Jen Suazo, Libby Least, Michelle Perry, Yvette Miley, Rashida Jones, and the great Savannah Guthrie. Savannah, thank goodness you are taking a rest tonight. We hope to see you tomorrow and every morning, but pneumonia is a big deal, and Savannah is thankfully taking a little care of herself tonight. I owe a special debt to the sisterhood of broadcast pioneers, to Leslie Stahl, Judy Woodruff, my great friend, and most memorably, tonight I want to talk about Cokie Roberts. We all know, those of you who saw her and watched her from afar, and those of you who are blessed to work with her at ABC and at NPR know just the measure of Cokie Roberts. Cokie represented the best of New Orleans and the best of Washington. Having been nurtured in the South, but raised literally in the halls of Congress, two parents being members of Congress, one majority leader. Watching her on This Week or listening to her on NPR, people were drawn to her enchanting laugh, her keen wit, her fundamental kindness and empathy. She was a founding mother not only of NPR, but also of all of us women journalists in Washington. While supporting and empowering her colleagues, she was always making room for the talented generations who follow, mentoring and lifting up all who came behind. Cokie and I shared a similar foundational experience in broadcast news. When we both got out of college, women were simply not being hired very often. I had the good fortune of talking my way into an entry-level job as what we then were called copy boys. I was a copy boy on the overnight shift at KYW, all news radio, all news all the time. It was a scrappy radio station,
an all-news station in Philadelphia, still is. The outgoing mayor derided me as that little girl. As Kristen Welker mentioned, the incoming mayor tried to get me fired. After I moved to Washington and to the network, so did Ronald Reagan's chief of staff, Don Regan. Perhaps the bullying only made me more determined. Sometimes I think of myself as a pushy broad. I can say that about myself. Some of those pictures were a little bit horrifying, just to see yourself doing that on a big screen. There were stumbles along the way, to be perfectly honest, covering my first foreign assignment, the mass cult murders in Jonestown, Guyana, and big stories back home, 3 Mile Island, Iran-Contra, the Reagan-Gorbachev summits, all fascinating. But I think with wonder at the amazing history that I've been able to witness. Sandra Day O'Connor, I was assigned to cover her elevation to the Supreme Court, the first woman on the High Court. Reagan at the Brandenburg Gate saying, "Tear down this wall, Mr. Gorbachev." The Bush years, Desert Storm. The Clinton-Gore bus trips across America. The revolution in Haiti, Fidel Castro's Cuba, and of course, 9/11. Afghanistan, Iraq, Saddam Hussein, Osama bin Laden. 3 generations of brutal dictators in North Korea, the story still unfolding. Through it all, there has been one constant: the examples of my colleagues at NBC and MSNBC, and indeed all of you at competing networks. The shared determination, what we do every day, whenever that call comes. We go anywhere that news is breaking, no matter how far, no matter how dangerous, no matter how difficult the assignment. We are now in an entirely new environment. In my experience, during more than 4 decades covering the White House and Congress and national security during 7 administrations, politics was invariably and appropriately adversarial. But this is different. Now we are called the enemy of the people. Our credibility as journalists is deliberately targeted as part of a re-election strategy. Today, time-honored norms are ignored. Press secretaries and senior officials deliver alternative facts. Traditions such as White House briefings, State Department expanded travel pools, formal news conferences are replaced by shouted exchanges on the South Lawn, often drowned out by the whirling rotor blades of Marine One. It is not comfortable for this journalist to become part of the story or the foil for official criticism. I don't think it's comfortable for any of us. As the atmosphere has become more hostile, I think we also have to calibrate our own responses. Social media are a powerful yet sometimes dangerous force. It is our responsibility to fact check. But if we are going to be taken seriously as referees in this highly polarized environment, and I need not add, on this night of all nights, it is only going to get more polarized, I think we need to do it without glee or animus. These are difficult times. The pace and velocity of breaking news can sometimes feel relentless. So while it is incredibly gratifying to be recognized by all of you, by my peers tonight, I like to think that I have only traveled a certain distance along this incredible journey. There are still a lot of roads to explore, a lot of people to interview, a lot of stories to be told. The race is not yet done. Thank you all so much.
Now presenting Shauna Thomas, Washington, D.C. Bureau Chief for Vice News.
And let me add my thank you to Andrea Mitchell, who helped teach me about journalism at NBC News. So my favorite journalism quote is something Bob Schieffer said at the end of a 2005 Face the Nation episode. Quote, "Objectivity does not mean that when you write a story about Hitler's evils, you're required to say, on the other hand, he really did a lot of good for the German economy. Objectivity means getting to the overriding truth. And sometimes it has no good side except that it's true. Getting to the overriding truth is what I think I and all of the people in this room try to do, which brings me to Beyonce. In another Emmy ceremony in the last couple of weeks, her homecoming concert documentary lost to carpool karaoke. Now, I love karaoke, and I like James Corden, and carpools are fine. But that concert was a celebration of editing prowess, dancing, blackness, and historically black universities. Go with me, I'm getting to my point, trust me. To get to the kind of objectivity and overriding truth we need to tell people, we gotta look for part of the next generation of journalists in those schools that Beyonce was highlighting. We have to strive for not just racial diversity, but socioeconomic diversity and gender diversity. And experience diversity, a lot of which is in my Vice News newsroom. If we can fill our newsrooms with people who have led different lives and see things in different ways and encourage a back and forth to figure out what the stories really are, then we will get closer to objectivity and truth. And Beyonce was robbed. Let's hand out some awards. The nominees for Outstanding News Discussion and Analysis are
Finding Hope, Battling America's Suicide Crisis, AC360, CNN. Fareed Zakaria on the Rise of Populism and the Fall of the Post-War Order. Fareed Zakaria, GPS, CNN. Special Edition, Climate Crisis. Meet the Press, NBC. Everyday Racism in America, MSNBC Special. Ad Lib Flindock, The Rachel Maddow Show, MSNBC.
And the Emmy goes to Finding Hope, Battling America's Suicide Crisis, AC360, CNN.
Accepting the Emmy, Randy Kay, correspondent.
Hey, I'm Anderson Cooper. Welcome to a CNN special town hall, Finding Hope, Battling America's Suicide Crisis. Crisis and hope. Those are our two watchwords for this hour and for this moment in time. The crisis, I think, came home for many people in the space of a week with the deaths of Kate Spade, the brilliant designer, and Anthony Bourdain, chef, storyteller, colleague, and friend.
Oh, thank you so much, and congratulations, of course, to all of the nominees. Quite a competition there. This award, of course, given the topic, is bittersweet. It's not really an award that you celebrate. It's an award that you appreciate. I want to thank some of those who helped make this happen, including, of course, Anderson Cooper, who was our host for this town hall and has always been a leading voice on the topic of suicide. He's brought some much needed attention to this very important issue. No one else could have hosted this town hall with such a personal understanding and such empathy. So of course I want to thank Anderson for that. I'd also like to thank our executive producer at Anderson Cooper 360, Charlie Moore, for his vision for this program. We did this after losing our friend and colleague, Anthony Bourdain, so this was a very difficult time for us at CNN. I would also like to thank the president of CNN Worldwide, Jeff Zucker, for giving us the airtime in such a busy news cycle for such an important issue, so thank you, Jeff. We believe that we did save lives that night. The calls to the suicide hotline, I'm told by our wonderful producers here, during that town hall went up more than 60%, and in the hours following that town hall. So we certainly hope that it made a difference. We need to erase the stigma associated with this in order to save lives. Suicide is the 10th leading cause of death in the United States. In 2017, 1.4 million people attempted suicide, and 47,000 of them succeeded. I'm sure many of you in this room have been touched by suicide, as I have, or you know someone who has. This award is for those who worked so hard on this show, who opened their hearts, but it's also for those that we've lost. We will always love and honor you. Thank you so much.
The nominees for Outstanding Current Affairs Documentary are
It Will Be Chaos, HBO documentary films. Stolen Daughters, Kidnapped by Boko Haram, HBO documentary films. The Facebook Dilemma, Frontline, PBS. Lifeboat, Spin Film, Riot. Nowhere to Hide, POV, PBS.
And the Emmy goes to It Will Be Chaos, HBO documentary films, HBO.
Accepting the Emmy, Lorena Luciano, director and producer.
Guarda, quasi direi lui, una carabinieri. Ci sono stati altri sbarchi di morti. Sì, arrivo. E che cosa dovevamo fare? Secondo te tenevamo i cadaveri aperti con della tenda?
Thank you very much for this incredible recognition. This award honors the tens of thousands of people who lost their lives at sea trying to reach the European shores. But this award is also for the survivors who carry upon their shoulders the incredible emotional toll of all the suffering that they have witnessed. This award goes also to every single character in our documentary for their incredible pride and courage. Thank you very much, HBO, for the unconditional support, and Nancy Abram for trusting our vision, respecting our creative choice. And lastly, a note about our film team. The people who have worked on this film, we come from different countries, we have different nationalities, we speak different languages, we believe in different religions, we have different skin color, with different sexual orientation, but still we have come together because we believed in telling the right story, we shared energy, passion, enthusiasm, same values. And this award shows that choosing inclusion instead of building walls or closing ports is definitely a road to success. Thank you very much.
The nominees for Outstanding Music and Sound are
Stolen Daughters, Kidnapped by Boko Haram, HBO documentary films. Dawnland, Independent Lens, PBS. Native America, PBS. Supercats, Extreme Lives, Nature, PBS. Extreme Survival, The Wild Andes, Smithsonian Channel.
And the Emmy goes to HBO. Stolen Daughters, Kidnapped by Boko Haram, HBO documentary films, HBO.
Accepting the Emmy, Andrew Phillips, composer.
We are just hearing gunshots outside, and we saw people coming in with soldiers' uniform.
They told us that they are military, they're here to protect us, and they call us to come and gather together, and they said that we should move on straight line out to the gates.
Thank you very much. Slightly overwhelmed by that. It was an amazing honor to be asked to do this, have the responsibility to help tell this story in music. And I had some very special people helping me. I'd like to thank Bex, who was a central voice in my vocal trio in the score. And I'd like to thank Gemma, the director, Karen, producer, Bruce, the editor, Naz, who dubbed, mixed the sound, and of course HBO and the Academy. Thank you very much. It's a great honor.
The nominees for Outstanding Lighting, Direction, and Scenic Design are
Pope, the most powerful man in history, CNN original series. The Bad Old Days, A Crime to Remember, Investigation Discovery. God Knows Where I Am, PBS. President George H.W. Bush Funeral Live, ABC. The Van Jones Show, CNN.
And the Emmy goes to God Knows Where I Am, PBS.
Accepting the Emmy, Jed Wider, director and producer.
Not sure how apples will be after a hard frost.
Thank you to the Academy for this tremendous honor. We made this film to pay tribute to a homeless and mentally ill woman, Linda Bishop, who starved to death inside of an abandoned farmhouse in New Hampshire after living there for 4 months during one of the coldest winters on record. Our mission as filmmakers was to pay tribute to Linda and her journey respectfully and attempt to the best of our abilities to paint the visual landscape of what we believe she experienced in her mind during her 4 months alone inside of that farmhouse, relying only on apples that she had picked from an apple orchard outside the farmhouse and water from a brook that she drank. Our deepest thanks to Stephen Segaler, Ben Phelps, and Leslie Norman at WNET, and to everyone at PBS for the tremendous care and support you all gave this film. Your professionalism and insightfulness were outstanding. As filmmakers, I don't think we could have found a better home for our film. Public television is a blessing for our nation for so many reasons. And we are so happy and honored to have worked with all of you. Thank you to Elizabeth Sheldon at Juno Films for your never-ending hard work and dedication. A special thank you to our actress Laurie Singer for searching deep to find Linda's voice and for her awe-inspiring and heartbreaking narration. Thank you to our families for their endless support and patience, and to Joan Bishop and Caitlin Murtaugh for sharing your lives with us. And finally, a resounding thank you to our director of photography, Gerardo Puglia, for his tremendous sense of the visual, his appreciation for the art of filmmaking, and for his ability to make a mean cup of espresso during some of the coldest winter nights we filmed. Thank you so much.
The nominees for Outstanding Arts and Culture Documentary are
Arthur Miller, writer, HBO documentary films. Believer, HBO documentary films. The Price of Everything, HBO documentary films. I Am Not Your Negro, Independent Lens, PBS. Remastered, Who Shot the Sheriff, Netflix.
And the Emmy goes to I Am Not Your Negro, Independent Lens, PBS.
Accepting the Emmy, Raoul Peck, director and producer.
Technical difficulties, but let's applaud anyway.
Lois, please. Thank you very much for this honor. Tackling the work of a great man like James Baldwin, a great poet, a great humanist, is the kind of film that, you know, it's a life and death matter. It took us almost 10 years to make this film. And we were able to make it because of James Baldwin's sister, Gloria Carifa-Smart, who led us the whole time to search for this movie. And also, of course, the Baldwin estate. And thanks to friends in the US, PBS, of course, Independent Lens, Lois Vossen, who has been a great person to protect us. My brother Hébert, who produced the film with me, and many other partners in France, Belgium, Switzerland, and all these people, I'm very grateful to them. They have been very patient to us, and I'm happy that Baldwin Words is going all over the world today. Thank you again for this award.
The nominees for Outstanding Feature Story in a Newscast are
On the Road with Steve Hartman, a Facebook message that sparked hope, CBS News. Borrowed Time, CBS Sunday Morning. Exodus, A Mother's Journey, Nightline, ABC. Flossie Lewis, Still Spectacular at 94, PBS NewsHour. Zero Tolerance, Vice News Tonight, HBO.
And the Emmy goes to Zero Tolerance. Vice News Tonight, Home Box Office.
Accepting the Emmy, Antonia Hilton, correspondent.
What happened when they took you to the shelter?
Pasamos golpeando.
¿Por quién?
Un pastor que se llama Anthony.
¿Un chico? ¿Un empleado?
No, es un niño, pero es chiquitito.
Were the people who worked there nice to you?
Sí. ¿Sí? Sí, pero hay unos que no.
Oh my gosh. My heart is in my throat, mostly because I'm overwhelmed looking out at a sea of people that I grew up watching and admiring. So thank you very much to everybody in this room. Thank you to HBO. Thank you to the amazing family at Vice, from Nancy, Jesse, Josh, Madeline, Rita, everyone up here with me. I can't forget that this is, again, as someone said earlier tonight, a team sport. So there are amazing people on our graphics team. Made this story happen. AEs, tons of folks who didn't sleep for basically 3 months to make this story come to life. Thank you to Ludi Garcia for letting us into your family's life at an unbelievably challenging time. And the last thing that I'll say is that while we did this story about a year ago, this story isn't over. This family, we stay in touch with them all the time. They are still grappling with the fallout from Zero Tolerance. Their family's still trying to put the pieces in their relationships back together after spending almost 60 days apart, confused and terrified. Their 7, now 8-year-old son is still trying to rebuild his relationship with his parents, and the ACLU and other organizations are still fighting ongoing separations in court. So our team is going to continue working on this story, and we're really grateful for this honor tonight. Thank you.
The nominees for Outstanding Breaking News Coverage are
Hurricane Michael, ABC News Special Events. The Pittsburgh Synagogue Shooting, CBS News. Genoa Bridge Collapse, CNN International. Parkland School Shooting, NBC News Specials. Yemen School Bus Bombing, CNN International.
And the Emmy goes to Hurricane Michael, ABC News Special Events, ABC News.
Accepting the Emmy, Mark Burstein, Senior Executive Producer.
And David, no matter where you are in the storm, I just saw something I have never seen in real life. I've seen it on video, and I have seen it in a 3D graphic that we made to describe storm surge. I saw an entire home taken off of its foundation and rolled down the street. That is the type of storm surge we're talking about right here in Mexico City at this moment.
So thank you very much. This award really belongs to the entire ABC News team. First and foremost, David Muir and Ginger Z and their teams in the field who found themselves in the middle of in the eye of a Category 4 storm, which became a Category 5 while they were broadcasting on the air live, risking their lives to warn people of the dangers that were to come. And to the entire weather team behind the scenes, Max Colombo, Dan Peck, Dan Manzo, Sam Wenick, and Melissa Griffin, Hal and Tamar, who lead the graphics for the weather team, and of course Rob Marciano, Sam Champion, and the peerless New York desk who covers weather like nobody else, always managing to have the right people in the right place at the right time and keep them safe. And the support of James Goldston and Barbara Fedita and the entire special events team, we thank you.
To present the Mike Wallace Memorial Scholarship, please welcome Susan Zirinsky, President and Senior Executive Producer, CBS News.
I won't be offended that they spelled my name wrong. It's okay. In the times we live in, we need more journalists, not less. And the Mike Wallace Scholarship Fund is all about that. This year, the Mike Wallace Scholarship Fund is presented in honor of our late colleague who inspired a generation of journalists, including me. In his first 4 decades of reporting for 60 Minutes, he had a great impact. In 1976, God help me, I worked for Mike as a floor producer at the conventions, my first conventions in Kansas City, and later on election night. That was in education. We all remember the most dreaded words an employee could tell their boss. They were, "Mike Wallace from 60 Minutes is here to see you." Mike's impact on our profession was profound and remains strong to this day. This scholarship, awarded annually, is funded by a grant from CBS News. It presents one young aspiring journalist with $10,000 toward their education as they prepare to enter our profession. This year's honoree is Bryce Brand, who is now attending the University of Central Florida. Let's take a look at some of his work.
In the city of Seattle, things like waste, homelessness, and congestion can leave someone out of touch. Meet Randall and Jose, 2 native Seattleites known as the dynamic duo that helps the city stay in its groove.
We
really talk a lot and communicate that way make sure our chemistry is really strong, and we come up and devise plans to how to better the community.
While Randall and Jose take pride in keeping Seattle pristine, their true enjoyment comes within day-to-day interactions.
I spent more time talking to people than actually cleaning, helping people out than actually sweeping the streets.
Like, it feels good to acknowledge a lot of people that feel like they're lost or ignored.
Randall, Jose, and the rest of Seattle's clean and safety staff work tirelessly year-round to keep the streets safe, allowing all Seattleites to stay in their groove. For Student Television Network, I'm Bryce Brandt.
I'd like to welcome Bryce. Would you join me on stage? He's back there somewhere. I'd like to present this certificate to you. The good news is the check has been sent and cashed.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you. To start off, I would like to thank the Academy for presenting me with a $10,000 scholarship in honor of the legend Mike Wallace, in addition to a $5,000 scholarship from the Suncoast chapter. It is a true honor to be here with all of you today. If I was told that I'd be standing before so many of my idols at this time last year, I probably wouldn't have believed it. I hope that this achievement serves to prove that anything is possible with dedication and hard work. I would like to thank every single person who has helped me get to this point. Thank you to my family for always supporting me no matter what. Thank you to the doctors who saved my life after having a massive stroke at just 9 years old. Thank you to my mentor, Mr. Wright, and the rest of my high school TV production family for keeping my passion alive. And thank you to my roommates from traveling here from Orlando to support me. I would also like to... I'd also like to especially thank one of my best friends, colleague, roommate, and TV partner, Evan Upson, for working so hard and putting in so much effort on every single package we've ever done all around the country. I love you, man. This accomplishment would not have been possible without all of you. Thank you, and go Knights.
Our next presenter is the president and CEO of the International Academy of Television Arts and Sciences. Please welcome Bruce Paisner.
Good evening, everyone. The International Academy is pleased once again to join with our U.S. colleagues in honoring achievement in news and current affairs. It is obviously particularly important that we do this now, when journalists and their work are threatened daily by governments around the world. The first line of defense of freedom of the press is the press. The journalists who cover stories, separate fact from fiction, and broadcast the truth. This may not always be a popular endeavor, but fortunately there are many reporters and editors who aggressively stand up to recalcitrant leaders and demand the truth. All of the International Emmy nominees tonight have criticized governments and resisted pressure. We look forward to celebrating their work and their courage. The nominees for the International Emmy Award for News are
Data, Democracy, and Dirty Tricks, the Cambridge Analytica Scandal. ITN, Channel 4 News, United Kingdom. Jornal da Globo, Jornal Nacional y Fantástico, The Murder of Marielle Franco. TV Globo, Globo News, Brazil. Indonesia, Sulawesi Earthquake and Tsunami. Al Jazeera English. Qatar. Siberia Fire, Kemerovo Tragedy. RT Russia.
And the Emmy goes to Data, Democracy, and Dirty Tricks, the Cambridge Analytica Scandal.
Accepting the Emmy, Joby Rabkin, executive producer.
In an era of big data and fake news, political leaders are changing, and so too the way they campaign. What you post on social media is being watched, being used, and what you see is crafted like never before. And bestriding this vast digital frontier is Cambridge Analytica.
Wow, this is unbelievable and amazing. Thank you so much. It's a huge, huge privilege and an honor to be here to get this award. On behalf of my team, most of whom are in London and couldn't be here tonight, but they were amazing. I think you heard about people talking about team sport. This investigation was a team sport that I was just hugely privileged to be involved with. And at the heart of the team was a small investigations unit, just 4 people, Guy Basnett, who's here, Ed Hauker, Tom Stone, Aggie Liggett, and an amazing undercover reporter without whom we would never have got this story. Also, just like to thank our bosses at Channel 4 News, who have supported investigative reporting in a way that has allowed us to do this kind of work, which is like so important. And I hope that all of you who are in positions where you're choosing to fund things in the media put some resources into investigative reporting, because we need it more than ever before. Thank you very much.
Congratulations, guys. And now allow me to present the nominees for the International Emmy Award for Current Affairs. They are
Iran Unveiled, Taking on the Ayatollahs, Hard Cash Productions, United Kingdom. Deceptive Diplomacy, Cover-Up by the UN, SVT Mission Investigate, Sweden. Fantastico, 11 Days in North Korea. TV Globo, Globo News, Brazil. Sweet, Sweet Codeine, BBC World Service Africa Eye, Nigeria.
And the International Emmy goes to Mission Investigate, Deceptive Diplomacy from Sweden.
Accepting the Emmy, Axel Homeless Joe, producer.
Zaida and Michael thought they were being taken to meet the group's leader. They didn't realize what the men were actually planning to do.
Thank you, the Academy, for giving us this. It feels as a real honor. And at the same time, it's hard to stand here because ultimately this was a story about 2 people working for the UN getting murdered in the Congo in the worst possible way. And then the UN covering it up. But at the same time, of course, now when there's UN week and we're so close to the UN headquarters, hopefully they can make up for this and start over again pressuring the Congolese government to really find out the truth of how high up the murder plans of the killing of Michael and Saida was. And let's hope for that. Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, let us take a moment to recognize those in our industry who have recently left us. Please welcome Terry O'Reilly, Chairman of the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining us this evening for this really special evening at Lincoln Center. You know, this past week, our industry lost one of its finest. Ironically, on Constitution Day, Cokie Roberts of NPR and of ABC News. Cokie was one of NPR's most recognizable voices. She helped shape NPR's sound and culture in the 70s when very few women held prominent positions in journalism. And then in 1998, she moved on to ABC News, where she served as a correspondent, a commentator, and a chief congressional analyst. She also co-anchored ABC's This Week with Sam Donaldson on Sundays from 1996 until 2002. Cokie was honored with countless awards in her 4 decades in journalism, including 3 Emmys from this Academy. Now, I did not know Cokie well, but I had the honor to share dinner with her one night while she was at ABC in the 1990s. Now, as you know, she came from a political family of note in Louisiana. So she asked me, of course, had I ever been to Louisiana? Had I ever been to New Orleans? And I replied that I had. And she asked, well, had I ever taken one of their cemetery tours? Because, you know, where the dead aren't buried, but they're entombed above the ground. And again, I said, yeah, I had been on one of those tours, and I thought it was very interesting. And so she asked, do you know why we keep the dead above ground in New Orleans? And I said I believed it had something to do with the water table, and that if you dug graves, that water would come up and that caskets would float out, and it just wouldn't work out very well. And she just said, no, dear, that's just what we tell the tourists. The real reason that we keep our dead above ground in New Orleans, it makes it ever so much easier to bring them out on election day. Cokie Roberts is going to be missed for a lot, for her wit, for her terrific reporting, her sharp intellect and thoughtful analysis. But she'll also be missed for having been a real champion for generations of women in our industry. So would you please join me in a round of applause for Cokie Roberts. Thank you very much. Now, in addition to our national award competition, our Academy also honors excellence in 19 regions around the country. So we'd like to take a moment this evening to present 2 awards that are honoring excellence in regional reporting. And for that, I'd like to introduce a trustee from our New York chapter, a legendary broadcaster here in New York City. Ladies and gentlemen, my friend Marvin Scott. He's here somewhere.
Thank you, Terry. Good evening, everyone. Congratulations to all of our nominees. You know, this is a wonderful moment tonight. It's an opportunity to show the entire world what stuff we journalists are made of. We expose corruption, and we stand up for the voiceless, and we keep the politicians honest, or at least we try to. Rewarding high standards of journalism, it could not come at a more opportune time, as our profession is under such intense scrutiny by critics who feel we simply have lost our mission. Hopefully, what we see here tonight will counter that criticism and demonstrate that honest, quality reporting is what truly defines us. And as we recognize excellence on the national level, well, we also take this moment to honor the high standards of journalistic excellence at the regional level, where some of the best local television news in this country is being produced. Now, often with limited resources, the pressure, of course, quite intense. We all experience that. The competition, the challenge, even greater. The 5 nominees for investigative reporting, they have already received Emmys, those golden statues from their local chapters, but their probes into child sex trafficking and abuse of campaign finance laws, fraudulent landlords, and exposing the truth about breast implants are such fine examples of journalistic excellence that they're the best, that they deserve recognition by the National Academy as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, here are the nominees for Outstanding Regional News. Investigative reporting.
Traded and Trafficked. Insight with John Ferrugia. Rocky Mountain PBS Denver. Breast implant illness. KPHO News, KPHO TV Phoenix.
Zombie campaigns, WTSP 10 News. WTSP TV, St. Petersburg, Florida. Kicked out, NBC Bay Area 11 p.m. News. KNTV TV, San Jose. Sick and Forgotten at Hanford, King 5 News. King TV, Seattle.
And the Emmy for Outstanding Regional News Story Investigative Report goes to Sick and Forgotten at Hanford, King 5 News, King TV, Seattle.
Accepting the Emmy, Susanna Frame, Chief Investigative Reporter.
How many of you feel that once you got sick, you were just discarded?
You know, and they don't care. They don't care.
Records obtained by King show at Hanford, worker comp claims are rejected at a rate 52% higher than the state average.
Right now.
Need that photo op.
Thank you. Wow, thank you so much. I'm so shocked. I'm really shocked, so I literally have a zip prepared. But I just want to thank the Academy and for anybody who judged this thing. Thank you so much. And I'm so short. I don't know if you guys can see me, but whatever. It's regional, who cares? But hello to everyone in Seattle at King TV, one of the best local news stations, I think, in the country. And I want to thank this guy to my left in the smart blue blazer. I mean, they're all three studs, obviously. But he's our photographer and editor and just so talented, and that's Steve Douglas. Thank you, Steve, for everything you've done. And just a quick thanks, I'll get out of here, I promise. Quick thanks to Jim Rose at King TV, our general manager, and Pete, our new news director, and thank you for supporting investigative journalism when a lot of local stations are just, you know, kicking them to the curb. They really let us do what we want to do and pursue something like Hanford Nuclear Reservation for, let's see, 5 years now. And the good news is, well, first, I just want to say really quickly, I want to dedicate this to the nuclear workers all across the country, not just in Washington State, who risk their lives in the face of being lied to and marginalized by the federal government for at least 30 years. And the good news is, out of this story about them getting unfairly denied all their worker comp claims when they got sick, is that we did get a law passed in Washington State which gives Hanford workers the presumption of occupational illness. So since this law passed, dozens of Hanford workers are now finally getting the benefits and the compensation that they deserve. So thank you.
And now for outstanding news story, spot or breaking news. As journalists, we are put to the test all the time during breaking news, those challenges we face to stay live and keep our viewers informed during natural disasters, mass shootings, and terror attacks. The nominees for outstanding regional news story, spot or breaking news, rose to that challenge very well during a deadly hurricane, a high school, a massacre, and a violent presidential rally, and terror that rode a bike lane here in New York. Here are the nominees for Outstanding Regional News Story, Spot, or Breaking News.
Charlie's Ark, WXIA 11 Alive News, WXIA TV Atlanta. Craziest thing I've ever seen, NBC 5 News at 10, KXAS-TV Fort Worth, Stoneman Douglas Massacre, WPLG Local 10 News, WPLG-TV Miami, Terror in Tribeca, News 4 New York, WNBC-TV New York, President Trump Rally, KPNX 12 News, KPNX-TV Phoenix.
And the winner for Outstanding Regional News Story, Spot of Breaking News, Charlie's Ark, WXIA 11 Alive News, WXIA TV Atlanta.
Accepting the Emmy, Jeremy Campbell, reporter.
Assuming there's mailboxes under this. Water bike, back up, back up!
We are so surprised. Aaron Peterson and I lead a long-form investigative documentary team, which means we're used to turning stories in about 3 months, 6 months. If you ask our bosses, a little longer. So to win for a story we turned in 1 day for Spot News is extra sweet. We have to thank the leaders at our company, 11 Alive and Tegna, for encouraging us to point our cameras toward the hope. That's what we did in the dark hours after Hurricane Harvey, and focused on the stories of those really changing the outcome for many lives during this tragic hurricane. So thank you all very much. Such a surprise.
Please welcome a veteran of 3 space flights, including the 5th and final mission to service the Hubble Space Telescope, NASA astronaut Andrew J. Feustel.
Thanks, everybody. I want to give a quick shout out to Andrea Mitchell on her Lifetime Achievement Award. And I just want to say, I hope I'm never standing on the wrong side of the fence facing you in the future. But thank you all for the warm welcome, and thank you for your support of human spaceflight and space exploration. We're close to celebrating 20 years of continuous human presence aboard the International Space Station. Every day on orbit, we're working to support our Artemis program and exploration farther into the solar system. We invite you all to watch us conduct science and technology development and demonstration that's only possible in microgravity. That's today in space travel. Let's turn the clock back 50 years and look at how TV covered the historic Apollo 11 mission.
5, 4.
The race to the moon and the impact of network news traveled in parallel paths in the 1960s.
Liftoff. We have a liftoff. 32 minutes.
For both, the peak was July of 1969, when Apollo 11 roared from the Kennedy Space Center. The 3 major broadcast networks pulled out all the stops. Walter Cronkite anchored for CBS with astronaut Wally Schirra as his expert. Frank Reynolds and Jules Bergman for ABC. For NBC, it was Huntley and Brinkley with David at the Cape.
And to say that somebody is about to land on the moon and walk around on it while almost everybody on Earth watches is just about too much to swallow. I almost don't even believe it.
And Chet in New York with Frank McGee. The networks tried to outdo each other in production, staging, and technology. NBC converted Studio 8H, the studio we know today as the setting for Saturday Night Live, into their space center with an Apollo capsule, globes of the Earth and Moon, and a map of the Pacific for the splashdown. ABC used new technology.
We're going to use our telestrator, this amazing electronic device, to show them how what actually happened in the landing process.
And even had Duke Ellington perform an original work, Moon Maiden.
Now I'm just a fly-by-night guy, but for you I might be quite the right do-right guy. Moon Maiden.
But But it was the reaction from Cronkite when the Eagle landed that might be the most memorable.
Man on the moon.
Thank you. You're looking good here.
Oh, boy. Boy.
Wait, we're going to be busy for a minute.
Wally, say something. I'm speechless.
The man whom America depended on to give them their news left without words. In that way, he might have been like the rest of the millions viewing, humbled by the achievement and awed by the technical advancements and production effort that allowed all to share in the historic moment.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
We've come a long way from those days, I hope. NASA astronauts Christina Cook, Drew Morgan, and Nick Hague are working and living with a multinational crew aboard the International Space Station. Tomorrow, our colleague Jessica Meir will join them, and her launch will be televised live on NASA TV, so I hope everybody will watch. I'm now going to turn things over to my colleague Christina, coming to us from the International Space Station.
Welcome aboard the International Space Station. I'm NASA astronaut Christina Cook. We are working every day to prepare humans to achieve the ambitious goal of landing the first woman and the next man on the moon, establishing a sustainable presence there, and empowering humans to travel onto Mars. Just as we've done since the days of Apollo, we'll continue to bring you along with us to experience the wonders of space. You can follow along from not only your television, but from any mobile device and on social media as we achieve humanity's goals of lunar exploration through the Artemis mission. Not only does the International Space Station provide insight to lead us back to the moon, it is also a unique orbiting laboratory where we conduct research that advances science and medicine for the benefit of everyone back on Earth. So, with that in mind, in the category of Outstanding Science, Medical, or Environmental Report, the nominees are 100,000 Women, 60 Minutes, CBS. For Better or for Worse, 60 Minutes, CBS. A Plastic Plague, 60 Minutes, CBS. Dangers of Tornadoes Depicted Through Immersive Mixed Reality, AMHQ, The Weather Channel. The End of AIDS, Far From Over, PBS NewsHour, PBS. And the winner is...
We're going to find out. The Emmy goes to Dangers of Tornadoes Depicted Through Immersive Mixed Reality, AMHQ, The Weather Channel.
Accepting the Emmy, Nora Zemet, Chief Content Officer and Executive Vice President.
Huge, heavy objects thrown into the air and carried several hundred feet. Oh! Jeez, you gotta be kidding me. Look at this. This beat up 3,000-pound car. It was lofted by the tornado and tossed around like that piece of wood that we saw earlier. It could have come from a mile away. It's mangled. We got gasoline leaking out. That's even creating more hazard.
Thank you, everybody. I want to thank Michael Potts, who really is the genius behind our immersive mixed reality. It took a team a very long time to decide how to possibly not only do that, but produce weather in a different way. You know, since my mother was a child, weather has been produced and forecast in the same way for a very long time, and we have the difficult role at the Weather Channel of predicting the future. Hard to do that without video. So the brilliant minds at the Weather Channel came up with a new way of storytelling, and in an industry there, I think there's a lot of people who are jaded by you know, the unfairness and the headwinds facing the industry and the way some journalists are treated. I work in a place where people come to work every day believing their mission is to protect and save lives. And the scientists who are forecasting deadly storms and tornadoes and a warming globe and climate change are doing that often at their own great personal risk. And this award is for all of them. So thank you.
Congratulations. Let's go back to Christina, 250 miles up and orbiting the Earth at 17,500 miles an hour.
And the nominees in the category of Outstanding Science and Technology Documentary are The Cleaners, Independent Lens, PBS. Decoding the Weather Machine, Nova, PBS. Transplanting Hope, Nova, PBS. Science Fair, National Geographic. And the winner is...
And this is where I come in. Let's find out. Science Fair, National Geographic.
Accepting the Emmy, Christina Costantini, producer, director, writer.
So basically, I taught a neural network how to write raps and rhyme them like Kanye West would. So it just basically looked through Kanye West's lyrics like tens and tens and thousands of times. The neural networks like effectively learn like how Kanye like flows and rhymes.
Oh my goodness, this is crazy. I want to first thank everybody who is up on stage, my co-director Darren Foster, producer Jeff Plunkett, and most of all, the best science teacher in the entire world, Dr. Serena McCullough. But we also want to thank the children in our documentary. We live during a time when the adults in our world are acting like children, and we had the great privilege to follow all of these children who are acting like adults and showing us the way forward. We believe that as adults we have the responsibility to share their stories, to amplify their voices. Science matters, the truth matters, so thank you so much.
Well, it's been almost a year since I returned to Earth from my nearly 7th-month mission to the space station. I can promise to all of you that all of us in space and on Earth are working around the clock to achieve our plans to explore the Moon and Mars. And we hope to bring you all along in high definition. So thank you. We hope you'll watch. Take care.
Congratulations to all the honorees, and thank you for all that you do to bring science and technology into our homes.
Please welcome Rainey Aronson Rath, executive producer, Frontline.
It's hard to follow an astronaut. Wow, I never thought I would follow an astronaut. It's great to be here tonight. Good evening. I wanted to just say for a moment that when I look at this year's nominations and all the new categories and creative makers among us, it's exciting to see the ways that we are telling visual stories. Despite all the challenges to us in our industry, we are evolving and expanding and getting better at what we do. Among us tonight are interactive storytellers, filmmakers, newsbreakers, and journalists who are not just doing the hard work of reporting, but pushing to tell their stories in new creative ways to reach new audiences. We are all visual storytellers, of course, but the thing that truly binds us together is our pursuit of journalism. Whether it be in the edit room, in the field, on television, online, we are making the hard journalistic decisions every day, guided by facts and our editorial standards. Doing this work, especially holding people in power accountable, has never been more necessary, challenging, competitive, but honestly, also really inspiring. We may not be perfect, but I'm proud to be part of this community, to be part of the challenge of evolving, innovating, and telling important stories to a world that continues to rely on that. Now, with that, the awards. The nominees for outstanding continuing coverage of a news story in a newscast are
Mexico's deadly drug war, BBC World News America. Yemen's young victims, BBC World News America. Catholic Church sexual abuse scandal, CBS News. Afghanistan, a war without winners, Vice News Tonight, HBO. Yemen's forgotten war, Vice News Tonight, HBO.
And the award goes to Yemen's Forgotten War, Vice News Tonight, HBO.
Accepting the Emmy, Amel Gedetfi, Associate Producer.
This is a lot of people. So you're saying that you don't want us to film inside because you don't want it to come back to you that these guys might die? Vice News managed to speak to some of the migrants inside the camp.
It's fine. It's not comfortable. What people do here.
Thank you so much for this incredible honor. I want to thank HBO first, JP Olson, also everyone at Vice, Nancy DeBuck, Shane Smith, Sarush Alvi for the opportunity and the platform to do ambitious journalism, even when it's incredibly difficult and a bit costly. Thank you to Madeline Herringer for a visionary, and Josh Trangel for knowing the importance of a story untold and investing the time for us to do it justice. Thank you to Cheryl Simpson for all of her support, and Craig Thompson for his seemingly endless well of patience and guidance. Thank you especially to Sean Stevens and Isabel Young for taking this incredible risk in the field. And thank you especially to Ben Foley for beautiful cinematography. And of course, to the dozens of our colleagues and editors and assistant editors and post-production people and writers and countless people that make this kind of work happen. Most importantly, though, none of this work would happen or see the light of day without the tireless efforts of Yemeni journalists, particularly those who stay in country after crews leave. They take exceptional risks to report on the crisis in their homeland and often face terrifying consequences for daring to do this job. With that note, a very special thank you to Adil Hasni, Saleh al-Batati, Yusuf Mauri, Ayman, and Abdurrahman. And most importantly, thank you to the many Yemenis who trusted us with their stories. Thank you.
The nominees for Outstanding Hard News Feature in a Newscast are
Crisis in Yemen, Nightline, ABC. How a gang hunted and killed a 15-year-old in the Bronx, The New York Times. I just simply did what he wanted, The New York Times. Yemen's spiraling hunger crisis is a man-made disaster, PBS NewsHour. The killing rooms of Mosul, Vice News Tonight, HBO.
The winner is Yemen's spiraling hunger crisis is a man-made disaster, PBS NewsHour, PBS.
Accepting the Emmy, Jane Ferguson, Special Correspondent.
بنت مثل هيدا كل يوم every day
She says she sees these sorts of cases. People have lost work, therefore they've no money, therefore there's just no food in the house.
You were never supposed to see these images of Maimona. A blockade of rebel-held northern Yemen stops reporters from getting here.
Thank you so much. It takes a huge amount of courage to report from Yemen, not least of all by the PBS NewsHour and their management. A huge credit goes to Sarah Just, Morgan Till, Judy Woodruff. No matter what footage we put in, they never winced or asked us to change anything that could be offensive or profoundly disturbing. They are dedicated to covering the story in Yemen, and have dedicated more airtime, I think, than any other evening newscast to this story. But the most courageous members of the team are the Yemeni members of the team, quite a few of them inside Yemen that took massive risks to help me, and who have asked, for understandable reasons, not to be named. But we're very lucky to have Ahmed Baider here. Ahmed is also nominated for the excellent work done by ABC News in Yemen, and he's actually responsible for an enormous amount of Yemeni coverage in the American media. So thank you so much. And lastly, I'd just like to say that when you're covering wars, we always try to get to the one fundamental truth, and Yemen really encapsulates that, and that it is that simply, regardless of military realities or strategies on the ground, every single human being has an inherent right to human dignity. Thank you very much. And I also forgot to thank my husband, Matthew McGarry, who has been listening to me for 2 years about hoping to get into Yemen. Thank you so much.
The nominees for outstanding coverage of a breaking news story and a news magazine are
Triumph in Thailand, 2020, ABC. Strike on Syria, 2020, and ABC News special events. The Compromise and the Kavanaugh Vote, 60 Minutes, CBS. President George H.W. Bush, 60 Minutes, CBS. The Students of Stoneman Douglas, 60 Minutes, CBS.
I won't do the 60 Minutes joke again, but it's 60 Minutes, the Students of Stoneman Douglas.
Accepting the Emmy, Guy Campanile, producer.
In the hours after 17 people were killed at Stoneham Douglas High in Parkland, Florida, students filled with grief and a righteous anger
He wouldn't have harmed that many students with a knife!
went to work starting a movement. Now, the generation with a notoriously short attention span is holding the nation.
I'm waiting for Lucy Hatcher, and I'm not going anywhere until Lucy gets here. Where are you, Luce? Don't twist an ankle. Seriously, it's kind of a weird situation when you're honored in this way for a story like that, because I know everyone in this room dreads that phone call and dreads that moment when we go, but I think the service we perform when we do that is invaluable. First off, thank you to this incredible team that worked on this story. Andy Bast, Lucy Hatcher, Gilad, Gabrielle, and Satch, Rob Zimmett, one of the best editors around. Also, Sharon Alfonsi, who is crashing a story for this weekend's premiere. If anyone has had the pleasure of working with Sharon, you know that she is a remarkable professional. She's a joy to work with. And she asked me to say the word ingenue for some reason tonight if we won. So I did. My word is good. And finally, thank you to Jeff Fager, Bill Owens, and Tanya Simon. We have a strong, remarkable tradition of 60 Minutes, and Bill and Tanya are continuing that, and we thank you for that.
The nominees for New Approaches, Arts, Lifestyle, and Culture are...
Birth Control, Your Own Adventure,
Good.
The New York Times. Conception, The New York Times. A Moment in Mexico, The New York Times. Your train is delayed. Why? The New York Times. The Most Feared Song in Jazz Explained, Vox Earworm.
The winner is The Most Feared Song in Jazz Explained by Vox.
The Academy will accept this honor on their behalf.
It's considered one of the most important jazz albums of all time. It cemented John Coltrane as a legend among jazz saxophonists and composers, and it's home to one of the most revered and feared compositions in jazz history. The reason why the album's title track is so iconic can be heard in its first few seconds.
The nominees for Outstanding New Approaches Current Affairs are...
Guns in America, Time. One Building, One Bomb, How Assad Gassed His Own People, The New York Times. The Office of Missing Children, Reveal from the Center for Investigative Reporting. Warming Planet, Vanishing Heritage, The New York Times. Yemen's Skies of Terror, Contrast, Al Jazeera Digital.
The winner is One Building, One Bomb from the New York Times. You got it.
Accepting the Emmy, Malachi Brown, Senior Producer.
Finding out what really happened matters. Entire families were killed, and the regime went to great lengths to conceal the evidence. Our investigation is the most detailed reconstruction of the attack so far. We analysed a trove of videos and interviewed dozens of witnesses and experts.
Is the New York Times coming? Is anyone from the New York Times coming? Oh, great. Here you are. Terrific. Congratulations.
Thanks very much. Sorry, we're in the cheap seats. This is incredible. So this is a collaboration at the Times between a relatively new unit called the Visual Investigations Team and the Augmented Reality Team. And, you know, just for the journalism community to recognize the type of work that we're doing is incredibly special to us. This is part of a series of visual investigations that we've been producing, and in fact, the first one was also a chemical weapons attack in Syria. And, you know, over a year later, we find ourselves investigating yet another attack. And, you know, for the sake of the people in Syria, we hope this is the last that we have to investigate. Anyway, thank you again. This is the team behind us. You can, you know, check out the credits. I don't need to go through everybody, but it's a big team effort. And thanks to the Times for giving us the time and space to delve into these stories with visual documentary evidence. Thank you.
The nominees for Outstanding Social Issue Documentary are...
Crime and Punishment, Hulu. Quest, POV, PBS. Survivors, POV,
PBS. Rest in Power, the Trayvon Martin story, Paramount Network. The Price of Free, YouTube Originals.
The winner is Crime and Punishment Hulu.
The way that this all starts from the top. And when I say the top, I mean the very top. Commissioner, deputy commissioners, and even the mayor's office. And the newly appointed mayor probably bit off more than he could chew and didn't understand just how much the city's budget depends on law enforcement to generate part of that revenue.
Oh my God. Thank you so much. This is really crazy to be here. There's so many people we have to thank, starting with our amazing EP, Laura Poitras, everyone at Field of Vision, Ford Foundation, Sundance, TFI, IDA, Hulu, of course. My producer in crime for over 7 years, Ross Tuttle, our editor, Eric Metzger, my amazing partner, Trina, and our daughter, Rosie. But most importantly, please give it up for the whistleblowers and these crime fighters of NYPD 12. Private Investigator Manny Gomez, now Lieutenant Edwin Raymond, Officer Richie Baez, and the others who couldn't make it, unfortunately. These men and women of law enforcement continue to walk a dangerous path by standing up for their beliefs. And they need our attention and support as they continue to fight discrimination and corruption in law enforcement. And I know this is breaking the rules, but I need them to just say a few words. So if any of you want to step up.
I actually would like the family of Trayvon Martin to join us, please. I'm a whistleblower. It's not an easy job. And, you know, I got to speak to Tracy earlier, and I let him know that his family's situation is what motivated me to use my voice despite being a member of law enforcement. Many people say that we're strong. To me, strength is standing 6 feet away in a courtroom next to the person that stole your baby. So that's my time.
I want to say thank you to Steve and Ross for exposing the injustices that we fight against. I'm a private investigator, and I prove people innocent, and I help the poor around the states. And I want to thank all of you because of the work that you do as documentarians, exposing these injustices, helping me bring justice to people who can't afford it. In essence, bringing a voice to the voiceless. I want to thank you all.
Wow. First, I'd like to give all praises to my Lord and Savior Christ for giving all of us the strength to fight the injustices, not only for ourselves, but for everyone in this room. Because it does take courage, but courage is not about how strong you are. It's about looking into your eyes of your enemies and saying, I'm not going to stand for it. Good night.
The nominees for Outstanding Live Interview are
Archbishop of New York Cardinal Timothy Dolan interviewed by Christiane Amanpour. Amanpour, CNN International. Andrea Mitchell interviews Dan Coates, MSNBC Dayside. Zero Tolerance and Separated Families, MSNBC Dayside. Interview with Russian President Vladimir Putin, Special Report, Fox News. Jake Tapper interviews Sheriff Israel, State of the Union, CNN. After Parkland, NRA and students respond. This week with George Stephanopoulos, ABC.
And the winner is Archbishop of New York Cardinal Timothy Dolan, interviewed by Christiane Amanpour.
Accepting the Emmy, Anna Bickford, Senior Editorial Producer.
Do you think this needs to change now?
No. I mean, I don't
But in
mind
the weight of
looking at
all
it.
of this evidence of abuse and evidence of inquiries that say, sorry, this doesn't work anymore.
If it needs to change, it shouldn't be just because of that reason. There could be other good reasons to talk about a change.
I'll just very briefly say thanks on behalf of Christiane, on the whole team that put this together, and our bosses at CNN and PBS who give us the format for these long-form interviews that are so vital today. So thank you.
The News and Documentary Emmy Awards are brought to you by WeWork, the official workplace of the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences.
Please welcome Carl Quintanilla, anchor of CNBC's Squawk on the Street and Squawk Alley.
Please tell me I didn't follow that just now. Good evening, everybody. Kurt Vonnegut was once quoted as saying that awards are good for two things: ego and bric-a-brac. What he failed to mention was that the recognition from one's peers is a powerful reward for doing good work, and that goes way beyond any statuette. The nominees for Outstanding New Approaches Documentary are
An Israeli soldier killed a medic in Gaza. We investigated the fatal shot. The New York Times. The Last Generation. Frontline. PBS. Polar Obsession VR. National Geographic. Give. POV Shorts. PBS. When Abortion is a Lifeline. Univision Digital.
And the Emmy goes to The Last Generation, Frontline, PBS.
Accepting the Emmy, Michelle Meisner, producer.
I didn't see the wave coming. It just pushed me up. Bikini Atoll is my homeland.
The United States to turn this destructive foe into something good for mankind.
When I grow up, I want to be the president of the Republic of the Marshall Islands.
Pretty cool. Okay. It is an honor for Katie Worth, the other producer on this project, and I to accept this award on behalf of the team of people that worked on this project. And I appreciate that that's been the theme of the night, and a lot of the speeches is recognition of all of the people who've worked on these pieces, including Dan Nolan, our designer, Lee Chang and Chris Amico, who are developers, Carla Boras, who heads up our video team at Frontline, is just incredible. Jason Breslow, There's our editor, Stellwagen Symphonette, our composers, everyone at the Ground Truth Project, headed up by Charlie Sennett, Beth Murphy and Marissa Miley, and Frontline, the entire team at Frontline. Another shout out to the AEs. That was great tonight. All the way to our managing editor, Andrew Metz, and our executive producer, Rainey Aronson, who you guys saw tonight. And she truly does champion the kinds of projects that innovate and try to, approach these stories in a creative way, the most important stories of our time. Impact. It's a poignant week for this project to be recognized as kids from all over the world are calling for action on climate change. We are most grateful for the kids in this story, Iserman, Julia, and Wilmer, who live in the Marshall Islands and are immediately impacted by rising sea levels and climate change. We thank them for sharing their story with us, for the people of the Marshall Islands, for the people who love them, for helping them share their story with us. And we hope that we all in this room can keep prioritizing this story. Thank you.
The nominees for Outstanding Business, Consumer, and Economic Report are
Uber sexual assault. CNN investigates. Is your electric car ethical? Child labor in DRC cobalt mines. Halaguarani tonight. CNN International.
Pretty soon, huh?
Hidden cost. Our laws have not kept up with the climate.
Did you work today?
The Weather Channel Digital and Telemundo with Efron Films. Kept out. PBS NewsHour. Future of Aging. Retro Report and Quartz.
And the Emmy goes to Hidden Cost. Our laws have not kept up with the climate. The Weather Channel Digital and Telemundo with Efron Films.
Accepting the Emmy, Sally Granitstein, correspondent and producer.
Do you know how old you are?
6.
So you're 6 years old? When are you going to be 7?
July 16.
July 16? That's pretty soon, huh? Did you work today? What were you doing today?
Cutting the grass.
Thank you very much. This film is about child labor in agriculture in the United States. A lot of people are surprised to hear that. I want to thank the Academy for acknowledging this work about children in jeopardy. I want to thank the Anguiano family who led us into their lives of migrant farm work. John Carlos Frey, who's the correspondent. I'm not the correspondent, as was said while we walked up there. John's heart is always at the center of all the work that we've done over the years. Also Marissa Venegas, who is the producer for Telemundo. She couldn't be here tonight. Katie Wiggins, Neil Katz, Gregory Gilderman, Sean Efron, Brandon Hurich, who couldn't be here because he's in Europe, and also Dan Madden, who was the editor who brought this piece home in memoriam. He's no longer with us. So thank you very much.
The nominees for Outstanding Business and Economic Documentary are
Personal Statement, America Reframed, World Channel. The Pension Gamble, Frontline, PBS. Dolores, Independent Lens, PBS. The Workers' Cup, POV, PBS. Penn.
Why on my watch? I believe the last nominee was Panic, the Untold Story of the 2008 Financial Crisis, Vice Special Report, HBO. And the winner is Vice Special Report, HBO.
Accepting the Emmy, John Maggio, executive producer.
Hank came in and said, Bear Stearns is failing, and we got to do something about it. And my first reaction was, why? They made bad investments, Hank. People that invested in Bear Stearns. And sadly, those who worked for Bear Stearns are going to have to pay the price of working for an entity that made bad investment. He said, you don't understand. If they fail, it's going to affect the international financial system.
Thank you so much. I want to thank, start with HBO, Richard Plepler, who introduced me to Josh Terengel, whose name I will destroy as well, an incredible executive producer at Vice. It's the first film I've done with Vice. I didn't know what I was getting into. I was used to taking about a year to make a feature documentary. And when I got there, Josh said, well, we can do this in 6 months. And I said, I don't know if we can do it in 6 months. But then I met the team, and I just want to say this award and the film was so good. We energized an otherwise pretty boring story with the unbelievable talent at Vice News. I'm so grateful for everyone who worked on it, including Aaron Ernst. I want to thank Josh Terengel, of course, Richard Plepler, J.P. Olson, Nina Rosenstein, Nancy DeBach, whose name I'm not sure I'm pronouncing that right, and Shane Smythe, is it? Not sure. Anyways, thank you so much, everyone.
The nominees for outstanding coverage of a breaking news story in Spanish are
Caminando al borde, aquí y ahora, Univisión. Emergencia en la frontera, Noticias Telemundo. ¿Qué está pasando con los niños? Noticias Telemundo. Caravana irrumpe en México. Noticias Telemundo Digital. Crisis en Nicaragua. Noticiero Univisión.
And the Emmy goes to Emergencia en la Frontera, Noticias Telemundo.
Accepting the Emmy, Jose Diaz-Balart.
Están regresando de manera masiva. La gente corriendo, sale agolpada, algunos niños se resbalan. Hay presencia militar de parte de Estados Unidos. Gente desesperada, con gritos. Lograron derribar una valla. En este momento van varios migrantes tratando de ingresar. Oh, están tirando balas de humo en este momento.
Well, thank you very much. Buenas noches. Gracias al equipo de Noticias Telemundo para empezar por su enorme esfuerzo diario. Y gracias especialmente a todos y cada uno de los espectadores de Noticias Telemundo que deciden informarse en su idioma, nuestro idioma, el español. Thank you very much to the Academy. It is a privilege and an honor for us in Noticias Telemundo to serve the Latino community, to let the world know that without Latinos, the United States is not a complete country. Thank you.
The nominees for outstanding investigative journalism in Spanish are
Los magnates de Dios, aquí y ahora, Univisión. Muerte río arriba, aquí y ahora, Univisión. Chapecoense, las clavas oscuras del siniestro, CNN en español. Latinos en el corredor de la muerte, Discovery Networks Latin America, U.S. Hispanic.
And the Emmy goes to Muerte Rio, Arriba, Aquí y Ahora, Univision.
Accepting the Emmy, Patricia Jagnot, co-host.
Este territorio es parte de una reserva biológica y del bosque más grande del continente después del Amazonas. Esta selva inhóspita es la tierra ancestral de los indígenas misquitos. Pocos hablan español y viven de la pesca y la agricultura.
En el río nosotros sembramos frijoles, bastimientos, yucas, maíz, arroz.
This award highlights the massacre that happened right in our backyard in Honduras. We don't have to go across the ocean to see the injustice that is happening. And us as reporters have the responsibility to report it. In this case, a drug operation by the DEA gone bad. Not only did they kill people, innocent civilians, but they lied about it, and it was discovered by a year-long investigation in Washington. We went down there, and any reporter would be privileged to be accompanied by cameramen like Juan Carlos, right here, Juan Carlos Guzman. Amazing to have somebody like that to have your back in a drug-infested area like Rio Patuca in the middle of the Mosquito Coast in Honduras. It was an amazing job. It took us 2 days just to get there. No electricity. To do an interview with a light, we had to get $20 to get some gas for the generator to power up the house so we could do the interview. So, you take for granted all these things, and it's right here where it's happening, and there's such a responsibility. And, my family says, why do you do this? And I think, well, nobody else is going to tell the story unless we do it. So just keep that in mind. The other thing I wanted to acknowledge is that, thank you to, Andrea Mitchell, makes us women, be kick-ass and not have to apologize about it. So that's a great example to follow. So a pregnant woman and a 14-year-old boy were murdered under the it was a DEA-led drug operation, and to this day, nobody has yet been prosecuted for these crimes. That's why this recognition is so important. I also want to acknowledge Hector and Lázaro. Hector here, editors that make our stories look amazing. Thank you, Hector. And I want to thank Linda, my homie, Paola Byron, for your energy and resourcefulness in finding people that were impossible to find. Thank you to our executive producer, Jairo Marin, for always having the vision of where to find a good story. Thanks to Daniel Coronel for his unconditional support and leadership, and Maria Guzman for your friendship and being a true friend. And thank you all for voting and recognizing that Spanish television is here to stay. Gracias, buenas noches.
The nominees for Outstanding Feature Story in Spanish are
Atrapados en el silencio, CNN en español. Carmelo Díaz en las buenas y en las malas, SC Reportajes, ESPN Deportes. America First, El legado de una redada, Univision News Digital. El legado de tolerancia cero, niños traumatizados y sin tratamiento, Univision News Digital. Walking to America, Vice News Tonight, HBO.
And the Emmy goes to El Legado de Tolerancia, Univision News Digital, Univision.
Accepting the Emmy, Ana Maria Rodriguez, digital producer, video journalist.
Ella viene una niña muy diferente.
Cuando uno produce este tipo de miedo en un niño, está produciendo un daño irreparable.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. The team who actually worked on this film couldn't be here tonight, and I would like to say some words on behalf of Almude Natural, our video editor at Univision Digital.
Brilliant.
Brilliant video editor. Adayansi Perez is one of the thousands of children that were separated from their families at the U.S.-Mexico border by the U.S. government as part of the zero-tolerance policy. This 6-year-old Guatemalan girl was away from her family for 3.5 months. Before going back, she was diagnosed with acute trauma and PTSD, yet her family knew nothing about it. She cried uncontrollably, stared into the abyss, had nightmares, all product of the trauma of the separation. She, like many other children, were deported with PTSD to rural, poor areas without any access to treatment. Adayansi's story is a story of thousands of children who had no blame but paid the heavy consequences of a cruel, inhumane policy of trauma as a weapon of war. This is dedicated to the children still being separated from their parents at the border. Thank you. Thank you very much.
The nominees for Outstanding Newscast or News Magazine in Spanish are
Al Punto, Univision. Aquí y ahora, Univision. Noticias Telemundo. Noticias Telemundo Mediodía. Noticiero Univision.
And the Emmy goes to Noticias Telemundo Mediodía. Telemundo.
Accepting the Emmy, Jose Diaz-Balart.
Así es, Felicidad, no cabe duda que cuando hay ganas de ir a la escuela, no existen obstáculos ni impedimentos. Mira estas imágenes. Son de un padre de familia que toma en sus brazos a sus 2 hijas para cruzar el río de su casa y de esta manera poder ir a la escuela. Esto es el río Coatzacoalcos, que en los últimos días ha tenido una crecida debido a las intensas lluvias.
Muchas gracias por este premio. Es muy importante para nosotros, gracias a la Academia, porque reconoce el esfuerzo que hemos hecho en el primer año en el que hemos estado en emisión. Muchas gracias.
Noticias Telemundo leitmotiv is las cosas como son, things as they are. That's how we serve our community. It is truly a privilege to be here and to be recognized for this program. Thank you.
Thank you.
The News and Documentary Emmy Awards are brought to you by Frontify, the official brand management platform of the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences. Please welcome anchor of CNN Right Now, Brianna Keeler.
Good evening. I'm so thankful that we could all be here this evening, and I know that for me, watching tonight just reminds me why I got into journalism, and it reminds me that I'm so proud of this community that we're a part of, where people are bringing their talents and their persistence, and they're trying to bring truth to light, and I hope that you're reminded of that too. The nominees for Outstanding Investigative Documentary are
Documenting Hate, Frontline, PBS. Myanmar's Killing Fields, Frontline, PBS. UN Sex Abuse Scandal, Frontline, PBS. I Am Evidence, HBO Documentary Films. No Stone Unturned, VOD.
And the Emmy goes to Documenting Hate, Frontline, PBS.
Accepting the Emmy, Rick Rowley, director.
Oh, check it out. If anyone wants to know, this is what we're about. It's Rise Above movement. We were at Berkeley, at Huntington. Now we're here. That's right.
In the months after their emergence at the Huntington Beach Trump rally, the Rise Above movement's social media following swelled. By the time of the Charlottesville rally, they'd gained a national reputation as white supremacist street fighters.
We're in a moment of national reckoning. We have children in cages at the borders. We have neo-Nazis parading openly in the streets. We have a poison leaching into our soil that none of our national institutions seem capable of stopping. So it's a privilege to be here in a room with so many of you who are, in this dangerous moment, stepping into this breach. And it's an honor just to be counted among your number. I want to just first thank Rainey Aronson for being brave. The amazing investigative journalist, A.C. Thompson, one of the great investigators of our time. Jackie Suin for her searing clarity, the indefatigable Kareem Haj, Lucas Waldron, and the entire team at Frontline. It really is a deep honor. Thank you.
The nominees for Outstanding Historical Documentary are
Going to War, PBS. King in the Wilderness, HBO Documentary Films. The Oslo Diaries, HBO Documentary Films. Intent to Destroy, Death, Denial, and Depiction, Stars. Tell Them We Are Rising, the story of Black colleges and universities, Independent Lens, PBS.
And the Emmy goes to King in the Wilderness, HBO Documentary Films, HBO.
Accepting the Emmy, Trey Ellis, executive producer.
We were taught that there were good people and bad people, and we never viewed this as black against white. We're taught that racism was a sickness, and you don't get mad with sick people. They just don't know any better. They've been taught that they are better than you.
What do you mean when you shout black power to these people back here?
I mean that they are oppressed because they are black.
Hey, Jackie. Wow, thank you so much. On behalf of HBO and Cunard Films, we are super honored about this. I want to thank Jackie Glover here from HBO, and Nancy Abraham and Lisa Heller, and Maya Muma, the best editor I've ever worked with. We also have Claire Popkin, Stephen Galladay, Chris Schwang, Jill Cowan, the best researcher you've ever seen. But I really want to dedicate this to the people we interviewed, especially Dorothy Cotton, who passed away at the end of this, before the film came out, because she taught us that it's always the right time to do the right thing, and especially now, I think it couldn't be more important. So thank you so much. And all the, of course, Peter Cunard, George Cunard, Teddy Cunard, they are not here today. I accept this for all the Cunard family and thank you again.
The nominees for Outstanding Editing Documentary are
Unrest, Independent Lens, PBS. Wildland, Independent Lens, PBS. Rest in Power, The Trayvon Martin Story, Paramount Network. Take Your Pills, Netflix. This Is Home, A Refugee Story, Epix.
And the Emmy goes to Wildland, Independent Lens, PBS.
Accepting the Emmy, Alex Jablonski, producer and director.
Heads up! That thing's flying over!
Helicopter's helping, but it's not really slowing it down that much.
Fuck.
The idea that you guys put these down is insane. So I'd like to first thank the Television Academy so much. I'd like to thank my wife, Anna, who showed faith and love every step of the way, including when I was, spending all night in the editing room. My kids, Magdalena and Dean. My co-director, Khalil Hudson, who has been a brilliant partner. My co-editors, Katrina Taylor and David Nordstrom, our composer, Tyler Strickland, Grayson Schaefer, Ryan Heffernan, and Gregory Reese, Lois Vossen from Independent Lens, Noland Walker from Independent Lens, who gave incredible notes and is just one of the most wonderful people I've ever had the chance to come in contact with. The whole Independent Lens team, Kristen Feely and Tabitha Jackson at the Sundance Institute for continuing to push documentaries into a more creative form, Bonnie Cohn and Lisa Chanoff at Catapult, David Holbrook, Amanda LeBeau at CAA, Brian Newman, and the guys that we fought fire with, Sean Hendricks, Tim Brewer, everyone at Grayback. We became firefighters to make this film. We fought fire alongside these guys while we were shooting. And fighting fire with these guys, getting to tell their story, and becoming their friend has been one of the great joys of my life. So, thank you.
The nominees for Outstanding Cinematography Documentary are
700 Sharks, Nat Geo Wild. Pressing On, the letterpress film, Bayonet Media, VOD. The Flood, National Geographic. Wildland, Independent Lens, PBS. Patagonia Untamed, The Wild Andes, Smithsonian Channel.
And the Emmy goes to Wildland, Independent Lens, PBS.
Oh my God, we're having twins. Okay. So, yeah, I had one speech prepared, but not two. I want to thank the wildland firefighters around this country, and I want to thank the wildland community. We don't hear their stories because they're humble enough that they don't want them told. And they don't like the spotlight. There's a humility and a grace and a strength with these men and women, unlike anything I've experienced. They save whole sections of the West, and none of us ever know about it. And they do it with a heroism day in, day out, 14 days at a time. And so I just want to say, to everyone who's ever hiked into a fire, who's ever dug line, just really this is for them, and I want to thank them. And I want to thank Khalil. We've been partners for 10 years, started out at film school with Marina Goldovskaya at UCLA, and he's just one of the most gifted partners anyone could ask for, and thank you.
Before we present the next award, I would like to introduce the duo who have been acting as our Emmy ambassadors this evening. We have Natalie Migliori and Elliot Schiaparelli of Fordham University. Thank you, Natalie and Elliot. And the nominees for Outstanding Research are
The Facebook Dilemma, Frontline, PBS. Hope and Fury, MLK, The Movement and the Media, NBC. Dawnland, Independent Lens, PBS. Operation Infection, Russian Disinformation from Cold War to Kanye, The New York Times Opinion. Remastered, Tricky Dick and the Man in Black, Netflix. Reversing Roe, Netflix.
And the Emmy goes to Dawnland, Independent Lens, PBS.
Accepting the Emmy, Adam Mazo, co-director and producer.
On the one hand, we have the children as we find them before we bring them to the government schools. Few of these boys and girls have ever seen a white man. We bring them in, clean them up, and start them on their way to civilization.
My wife was right, I should have worn a tie. We are so honored to accept this award here in the territory of the Lenni Lenape people. And we hope the Academy will acknowledge that we're on their territory each year from here on forward. Dawnland is a story for the Wabanaki people, the people of the Dawnland. Our film presents testimony from Wabanaki people who are being separated from their families, nations, tribes, and communities by Euro-American settlers, white folks like me. The greatest recognition belongs to the Wabanaki people, many of whom are standing here on this stage tonight. They have lived that experience. They have lived that experience and showed immense courage in telling their stories or holding them in their hearts. And to my wife, Lisa, and all of our spouses and families, and all of the spouses of all of the winners tonight, without you, this would not be possible. Thank you.
The nominees for Outstanding Investigative Report in a Newscast are
Undercover with Nigeria's Pushermen, AC360, CNN. Healthcare Fraud in America, CBS News. Child Labor in the DRC, CBS This Morning. Yemen Airstrikes Made in America. Connect the World with Becky Anderson, CNN International. Rape, harassment, and retaliation in the U.S. Forest Service. Women firefighters tell their stories. PBS NewsHour.
And the Emmy goes to Rape, Harassment, and Retaliation in the U.S. Forest Service. Women firefighters tell their stories. PBS NewsHour, PBS.
Accepting the Emmy, Lorna Baldwin, producer.
Michaela Myers was working as a firefighter in Oregon with the U.S. Forest Service. As she detailed in a formal complaint, she was repeatedly sexually harassed by her older male supervisor.
He would touch me, he would grope my butt, like my waist. Yeah, it was just uncomfortable.
Thank you very much to the judges for recognizing our work. This investigation was truly a collaboration with our digital team. It wouldn't have happened without my colleagues Josh Brajas, Liz Flock, and William Brangham, our correspondent. Huge thanks go to our fearless leaders, Judy Woodruff and our executive producer, Sarah just for allowing us to devote as much time as was needed to this project. The most important thanks, though, go to the more than 36 women of the Forest Service who trusted us to tell their often very difficult to tell stories. Thank you so much for this honor.
The nominees for Outstanding Short Documentary are
Beneath the Ink, GQ Condé Nast Entertainment. Earthrise, POV Shorts and the New York Times, PBS. The Family Business, Trump and Taxes, Showtime. Guns Found Here. Meet the Press Film Festival with AFI, NBC. Trans in America, Texas Strong. Them, Condé Nast Entertainment. Traffic Stop, HBO Documentary Films.
And the Emmy goes to Trans in America, Texas Strong, Them, Condé Nast Entertainment.
Accepting the Emmy, Darisha Kai, Director.
All of the information and data that I had read about transgender children having a 41% risk of attempting suicide came flooding back, and I realized that I had a 4-year-old that was begging the Lord to let her die. I had a 4-year-old who would rather go be with Jesus forever than stay here and have to live as a boy one more day.
Thank you to the Academy for recognizing this really important work. When we were making the film, the ACLU was fighting Gavin Grimm's case before the Supreme Court. This film is one in a series of 3 films about transgender rights in America. And on October 8th, the ACLU will be fighting for trans rights again in an even scarier time. So thank you to the ACLU for the important work they do for all of us all the time. La lucha continúa. I'd like to thank Little by Little Films. I'd like to thank Condé Nast Them. I'd like to thank the ACLU. I'd like to thank my incredible queer and trans-led team. Lindsay Dryden, Shalise Haas, Molly Kaplan, Nora Wilkinson. I'd like to thank our incredible editor, Jamie Boyle, our incredible DP, Amy Bench. I'd like to thank Chase Strangio. I just think we're just an amazing team. And most of all, I'd like to thank the people who appeared in the films and the other director, including Kimberly and Kai Shapley. Kai would like to say a word to you.
My name is Kai Shapley. My pronouns are her and she, like the candy bar.
Thank you.
Our final presenter is anchor and managing editor of PBS NewsHour. Please welcome Judy Woodruff.
Wow, what a spectacular night. I am literally blown away. I've been sitting back there in the far back, in the middle, watching one after another awardee, and we are all blown away by what is being done in every corner of journalism. The upstarts and the mainstream, the folks who've been around for a long time, the national, the regional, the local, the young, the old, the big, the small, it's all amazing. And congratulations to all the extraordinary award winners and the nominees tonight. There is so much important work being done. But as the last presenter, I'm feeling a lot of pressure to wrap things up. Thankfully, we have 3 exciting categories to conclude the evening. First, I just want to say a few quick personal shout-outs to Frontline and all the extraordinary journalists at that amazing organization, one of my alma maters. To my dear friend, Andrea Mitchell, an icon. We've said it all tonight. It's all true. We can say it again, an icon and a role model for all of us, men and women. And of course, my unbelievably hardworking and dedicated NewsHour colleagues who make me proud every single day. Thank you, guys. I love you. Nights like this are special. They remind us of all the important journalism that is being done these days, of the incredible reporting and hard work and creativity in our midst. We celebrate and we are inspired. And tomorrow morning, we're all going to get up and go right back to work, doing the work that we love, digging up information, poring over documents, asking tough questions, holding those who serve the public accountable, holding up to the light some of the darkest corners of our society and our world. Why? That's because the need for the kind of journalism you do and so many of our colleagues do around the country has never been greater than it is today. And it will always be needed because we are truly part of the glue that holds our country together, holds our democracy together. As the challenges grow greater, as they inevitably will, it'll be on us to do our best work yet. And we will be called on again and again to step up. I have no doubt that we will. Look at the examples set tonight by those who were nominated and those who were recognized. The stakes are too high for us to do anything else. I am never been prouder to be a journalist than I am right now. Now, the 3 awards I'm presenting literally represent the best of journalism. The nominees are for Best Story in a Newscast,
The Parkland Diaries, AC360, CNN. The Rohingya, No Way Out, World News Tonight with David Muir and Nightline, ABC. Afghanistan, A War Without Winners, Vice News Tonight, HBO. The Killing Rooms of Mosul, Vice News Tonight, HBO. Yemen's Forgotten War, Vice News Tonight, HBO.
And the winner is Yemen's Forgotten War, Vice News Tonight, HBO.
Accepting the Emmy, Amel Gedetfi, Associate Producer.
You can just feel the waters zipping right over our heads. What's going on? Was not expecting a second one. Again, thank you so very much for this incredible honor. I think this is a good chance to just remember that the combination of a proxy war, of repression, of climate, of famine, and decades of internal dysfunction have transformed Yemen and made life for its 30 million people a daily fight for survival. This is a conflict that concentrates so much of the worst of humanity, and so many journalists have given up a lot inside of the country and outside of the country to report on this ongoing hell. But there's so much more work to do, and I hope that my fellow journalists are able to do this work again and again until this conflict is over. Thank you again.
The nominees for Best Story in a News Magazine are
For Better or for Worse, 60 Minutes, CBS. Orphans of War, 60 Minutes, CBS. Tim Green, 60 Minutes, CBS. War Crime, 60 Minutes, CBS. Slaves No More, The Emancipation of Child Jockeys in the Middle East. Real Sports with Bryant Gumbel, HBO.
Best story in a news magazine, the winner is War Crimes, 60 Minutes, CBS.
Accepting the Emmy, Nicole Young, producer.
One question not answered by the UN investigation was why? Why resort to a war crime? To find out, we traveled into the province where Khan Sheikhoun is located, Idlib province.
Wow, I just like our fellow nominees and winners, I only wrote one speech. I don't know if I have any more nice things to say about Scott, other than he's excellent. I knew we wore color for a reason. We are so honored to be in this category. It's sad that we keep having to tell this story. This was the second story we did on a chemical attack inside Syria, and as much as we are very proud of this award, it saddens me that we had to do another story, and I pray that we don't have to do another story again. But I guarantee you that if it happens again, we will fight like hell to make sure we tell another story. I hate being up here for the third time and not giving a shout out. I lost someone very close to me on Friday night, and I have a feeling he has been my lucky star tonight. So I just wanted to say I love him, and I hope he's in heaven somewhere shining down on all of us. I want to thank Scott again for being a master at his craft. I want to thank 60 Minutes, Bill Owens, Tanya Simon, who's now a female fantastic leader in our troupe, leading us into our next chapter. All of the women on our floor and on our staff who show the world what we all can do. The women behind me who just do the kind of work that just transcends perfection. Our editors, our cameramen, our producers in the field, thank you. And to the Academy, thank you for this.
And now the nominees, this is the final one. The nominees for Best Documentary are
Exodus, The Journey Continues. Frontline, PBS. I Am Evidence, HBO Documentary Films. I Am Not Your Negro, Independent Lens, PBS. Nowhere to Hide, POV, PBS. Quest, POV, PBS.
For Best Documentary, the winner is I Am Evidence, HBO Documentary Films.
Accepting the Emmy, Mariska Hargitay, producer.
Kim's commitment to test every last kid here in Detroit is so remarkable. I've been playing Detective Benson on SVU for 15 years, and when I first began, letters started coming in from viewers. These men and women were disclosing to me their stories of abuse.
We are so humbled and grateful to be in this room with so many people who are shedding light and who are warriors of the truth. So thank you for this incredible honor. I first and foremost want to express my deepest gratitude. This is a big moment for this, for the women that entrusted us with their stories in making I Am Evidence. So first, I'd like to thank Erica and Helena and Amberly and Danielle and Kalima and Erica and Alyssa and Chandrika, Andrea,
Michelle, Debbie, Dominique, Kayana, Tiffany, and Kim. I have often said that the backlog of untested rape kits in this country says to survivors that you don't matter, and what happened to you doesn't matter. And I want to say to you, and we all made this movie to say, you matter deeply, and what happened to you matters. So you are all evidence of courage and strength and perseverance and the possibility of reclaiming a life. And you have my deep gratitude and admiration. Thank you to this group right here, to my formidable producer and director, Trisha Lessig, and to Geeta, our co-producer, it's her second time up here tonight, to HBO, Nancy Abraham, and Sheila Nevins. You have been amazing partners and guided us in such a beautiful way, and it was just a pleasure and an honor to do this project with you. And to our visionary producing team, Lauren Bromley, who showed up in every way she could possibly for this film. Suki Novogratz, Regina Scully, Mark Levin, Miley Zambuto, Lorraine Kirk, Caroline Feeney, Pam and Mark Murphy, and Jenny Rothenberg, and to our amazing editor, Viri Lieberman, and to Kim Worthy, who is the heart of this film, who, when we learned about the rape kit backlog from Human Rights Watch in 2009, I found this heroic woman that was doing something that just achieved the impossible. So, with so many documentaries, the motivation behind the film is also the goal, which is outrage. And I am, and we are outraged by the backlog of untested rape kits in this country. And the backlog exists for a combination of reasons. Paramount among them is, as one news magazine recently called it, an epidemic of unbelief. So I hope that you will join me in our outrage and believe survivors. Thank you. Wow. Thank you.
Thank you all on behalf of the Academy. What a wonderful night. Congratulations to all of those who were honored here tonight. Before you leave, let's look at some of the backstage moments tonight. Good night.
Promotional consideration has been provided by United Airlines, the official airline of the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences. Fly the friendly skies.
Ladies and gentlemen, we hope that you enjoyed our presentation. Please exit the theater as soon as possible. Safe travels to your next destination. This is your announcer, Bonnie Optickman.